Chapter 480. In the afternoon, Tan Xiao left the Paradise Manor with Chen Jizhong and Gu Xiaoxue. Ouyang Lulu was busy, so she didn't urge them to stay. She just told Tan Xiao to come over when he had time. After returning to the Blue Star Villa complex, Tan Xiao saw that Qinan had brought the two nannies. Since Gu Xiaoxue had come, he wanted her to take Tang Xiaojin's group of 5 away. Therefore, the responsibility of looking after the children was no longer given to the two nannies. But he still asked them to stay and clean the place and cook. Both of you, come with me to the study room. As Qinan left, Tan Xiao looked at the two and said, inside the study room. Tan Xiao's group of 3 had just sat down when one of the nannies, who was more perceptive and was familiar with the environment here, served hot tea. Aunt Lu, you can clean the rest of the villa starting today, but not this study room. You two are not allowed to step into this study room without my order. Upon hearing it, the nearly 50-year-old Lu Fan quickly nodded and said, all right, I'll inform Big Sis Zhang. After she left the study room and closed the door from the outside, Tan Xiao looked at Chen Jizhong and said, Jizhong, take a look at this list. Help me find as many medicinal herbs as you can. They don't need to be old, as long as they are alive and can be planted. Also, if you can get the seeds of these herbs, you can also buy them. Chen Jizhong took the list and found hundreds of names of medicinal herbs written on it. He immediately asked, Master, I've never heard of some of these medicinal herbs. They should be rare herbs, but most of them are easy to find. May I know the quantity you need? I'm going to plant 100 acres of medicinal herbs first, said Tan Xiao seriously. So the quantity I need is huge. Buy as much as you can. In short, the more the better. Plant medicinal herbs? 100 acres of land? Chen Jizhong was startled and quickly said, I understand, Master. I'll immediately start arranging it after we return to Star City. You don't need to worry about those seedlings, said Tan Xiao. Send someone to buy a large number of medicinal herbs and seeds first. When I'm ready, I'll look for and buy seedlings. Chen Jizhong nodded and carefully put away the paper with the names of medicinal herbs written on it. Then he said, I've encountered a bottleneck in my cultivation, Master. No matter how hard I try, my cultivation progress is very slow. Recently, I've gotten a lot of precious medicinal herbs to supplement my body, but I've discovered that it's very difficult to absorb the medicinal effects. Tan Xiao looked at him strangely and asked, You use precious medicinal herbs to nourish yourself? Chen Jizhong said matter-of-factly, That's right. After all, I run a medicinal herb business. If I find good quality medicinal herbs, such as 100-year-old ginseng, lingzhi, cordyceps, and other good things, I will keep a portion of them. Perhaps because he had taken too much of it recently, he felt that the medicinal effects were stored in his body, but it was difficult for him to absorb them. You might even have night sweats and nosebleeds if you take too much medicinal cuisine. Tan Xiao was speechless. He glanced at Gu Xiaoxue, who also had a strange expression on her face. He shook his head and forced a smile. It seems that you've really wasted too many medicinal herbs. How about this? Send all the medicinal herbs you get to Jingmen Island's Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ in exchange for a certain amount of medicinal pills. Taking medicinal herbs directly, even if it's just medicinal cuisine, will not bring great benefits to the cultivator once the medicinal efficacy has been absorbed to a certain extent. But it's different to refine medicinal pills since it's easier to absorb and refine them. Medicinal pills? Chen Jizhong had heard about medicinal pills, but how could he know that the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ in Jingmen Island had someone who could refine medicinal pills? Upon hearing Tan Xiao's words, he secretly regretted it. However, he was rich and overbearing, so he quickly calmed down and said, Master, I was just about to mention it to you. Can you see if I can go to Jingmen Island's Everlasting Feast Hall when I have nothing to do? A smile outlined on the corner of Tan Xiao's mouth. With a teasing look in his eyes, he nodded and smilingly said, Since you're the one who proposed it, then go. After you've collected enough medicinal herbs and seeds for me to plant, arrange the company's affairs, and then go there for a few months for special training. I'm sure it will be of great help to you. With a happy expression, Chen Jizhong respectfully replied, Understood. I'll prepare it as soon as possible. Tan Xiao looked at Gu Xiaoxue and asked, Do you have any medicinal pills with you? I brought some. 2 jade bottles appeared in Gu Xiaoxue's hands out of thin air. She then said, "These are essence-strengthening pills. There are a total of 20 pills in these 2 bottles. Taking one can increase your cultivation by 3 years. Give them to him," Tan Xiu said. "Also, give him a list of medicinal herbs according to the exchange rate of the Everlasting Feast Hall's core members. Tell him to send the required medicinal herbs. Zhizhong, if you want to get medicinal pills later, you can go to the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ in Jingmen Island to exchange them. However, the HQ in Jingmen Island doesn't have a lot of medicinal pills, so don't rely on your wealth to exchange for them wantonly." Chen Zhizhong looked happy. After receiving the 2 jade bottles, he excitedly said, "Absolutely not, master. I'll only exchange for the medicinal pills I need. Later, if the Everlasting Feast Hall's core members want to buy medicinal herbs from you, give them a slightly cheaper price," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "We'll be on the same side in the future, and I'm afraid they'll need your help a lot of times." "I'll keep it in mind, master." Chen Zhizhong quickly nodded. "I have a lot of rooms here," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "You can choose anyone and go back to Star City with me tomorrow. Xiaoxue, set off now if you want to go back to Jingmen Island today. I'll leave Tang Xiaojin and the other 4 to you. Be sure to train them well." "Understood," Gu Xiaoxue replied and got up to leave the study room. As the 2 of them left, Tan Xiu went to the innermost corner of the study room. His fingers constantly flicked as he shot out his star force to form array runes. Immediately after, the fierce beast he had subdued instantly sprang out from the inside, and a thought was transmitted into Tang Xiu's mind. It was the feeling of hunger. Tan Xiu took out some meat from his interspatial ring and threw it to it, saying, "Your appetite has grown recently. It seems that it'll be very troublesome to only feed you meat in the future. I'll refine some beast pills for you after we go back to Star City. It's convenient to carry, and will be very beneficial to you. When I become stronger, I'll teach you a set of immortal beast cultivation technique, so you can grow faster at that time." Shortly after, he received the gratitude from the fierce beast. Tan Xiu smiled and stuffed it back to the corner. He then used the array to create a wide illusion for it so that it wouldn't be bored even if it stayed in the corner. Afterward, Tan Xiu left the study room and went downstairs to the living room. Tang Xiaojin's group of 5 had begun to pack up their things, and were ready to leave with Gu Xiaoxue. Tan Xiu found that they were not in a good mood, so he immediately said with a smile, "Don't worry. When you go to Jingmen Island, there will be people who will provide you with clothing, food, housing, and transportation. They will also arrange the best teachers and instructors for you to learn a lot of things. When I have time later, I'll go to Jingmen Island to see you." "All right." The 5 children nodded. As Gu Xiaoxue took them away, Tan Xiu then looked at Chen Zhizhong, who had already picked a room and was sitting in the living room with a bit of boredom, and said, "Let's go. I'll teach you a set of body forging technique. As long as you diligently practice it, you'll be able to quickly strengthen your physique in the future. Also, the true qi in your body has been completely transformed into true essence, so it's time to teach you some simple spells." Chen Zhizhong was overjoyed upon hearing it, and immediately followed Tan Xiu to the courtyard. Teach. It was very simple. Tan Xiu taught seriously, and Chen Zhizhong also studied seriously. By nightfall, Chen Zhizhong had already completely mastered the body forging technique. He had even mastered several spells. However, it was still very difficult for him to use them due to his limited strength. However, according to Tan Xiu, as long as he made a breakthrough, he would be able to use several spells. "Zhizhong, remember my words. You must never use spells in front of outsiders, and you must not easily expose your full cultivation. The existence of people like us will pose a threat to many people. Once exposed, I'm afraid you won't be able to live a peaceful life in the future." Tan Xiu solemnly exhorted. Chen Zhizhong understood Tan Xiu's meaning, so he solemnly said, "I understand, master. You can rest assured." Buzz! As his voice faded away, the electric gate of the villa's courtyard slowly opened. Mu Weining came in from the outside with a bag and several books in her hands. Upon seeing Chen Zhizhong, who was sweating profusely with his back bare, she looked slightly surprised. She then looked at Tan Xiu and asked, Who is this? He's my apprentice Chen Zhizhong, said Tan Xiao. This is Mu Weining, an alumnus of my Demon City University. I know her, master, said Chen Zhizhong with a smile. She's the first beauty in the capital, Mu Weining, the little princess of the Mu family. You're Tan Xiao's apprentice? Mu Weining was surprised. What did you learn from him? Martial arts, said Chen Zhizhong. Mu Weining looked at Tan Xiao with a strange expression and praised. Tan Xiao knows too many things. I'm really envious that you can learn from him. But how do you know that I'm from the Mu family? I've seen your grandpa before. He was in poor health a few years ago, so I personally sent some precious medicinal herbs to the Mu family in the capital, Chen Zhizhong said with a smile. I remember now. You're the Endless Virtue Pharmaceuticals boss, Uncle Chen? Mu Weining was surprised. No. Just call me Chen Zhizhong. Chen Zhizhong quickly waved his hand. You're my master's friend, so I can't afford to call you uncle. Mu Weining looked at Tan Xiao with a strange expression before shifting her eyes to Chen Zhizhong. She was secretly amazed inside. It must be noted that Chen Zhizhong's Endless Virtue Pharmaceutical was one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the country. Its main business was Chinese medicinal herbs, and its business was spread all over the country. A big shot like him, who had status and wealth, unexpectedly worshipped Tan Xiao as his master. This was simply inconceivable. Chapter 481. As the fragrant smell of the dishes drifted out of the villa, Tan Xiao said with a smile, It seems that the two nannies Qi Nan found are good at cooking. Just the smell of the dishes has aroused my appetite. Let's go. Let's eat first. Nannies? Mu Weining was surprised. He even invited 2 guests? Tan Xiao explained. I thought that Tang Xiaojin and the other 4 would stay here for some time, but I didn't expect that someone would come to Shanghai, so I took them away. The 2 nannies I hired were mainly to take care of their daily life. But they have already come, and Tang Xiaojin and the other 4 have already left, so I couldn't drive them away. So I let them stay. After all, this villa also needs to be cleaned. Who took Tang Xiaojin and the others away? Asked Mu Weining quickly. Where did they go? Weren't the 5 of them adopted by you? How? I did adopt them, but I don't have much time to take care of them. Tan Xiao interrupted her. I arranged someone else to take care of them, so it's not a problem. Mu Weining hesitated for a moment before she finally nodded and said, When can I see them again? Find an opportunity later. Tan Xiao said. After dinner, Chen Zhizhong stayed in the courtyard to practice his body forging technique, while Mu Weining pulled Tan Xiao to leave the villa and stroll outside. According to Mu Weining, it was to digest the food. However, just as the 2 of them walked out of the villa complex, Tan Xiao's mobile phone rang. To his bewilderment, the caller ID turned out to be an unfamiliar number. This is Tan Xiao. Who is this? Where are you, Tan Xiao? Han Qingwu's voice came out of the phone. Tan Xiao slightly furrowed his brows and slowly said, Blue Star Villa Complex. Wait for me. I'll be right there. After saying that, Han Qingwu hung up the phone. Mu Weining looked at Tan Xiao, who was holding the phone in a daze. She touched his arm with her elbow and curiously asked, Who was that? It can actually make you lose your mind? Tan Xiao came back to his senses and said, Han Qingwu. Mu Weining said, Your class teacher? Why is she looking for you so late at night? I don't know. Tan Xiao shook his head. She only said that she would come over immediately, but she didn't say why she was looking for me. Weining, why don't you stroll around by yourself and I'll go back and wait for her? Mu Weining hesitated for a moment before she shook her head and said, I'm not going to stroll around. Let's go back together. Tan Xiao nodded. More than half an hour later, Han Qingwu drove to the villa area. After asking for the number of Tan Xiao's villa, she drove straight over. When she entered the villa, she saw Chen Zhizhong practicing martial arts. She frowned, but didn't pay much attention to him. She went straight to the villa's hall. Tan Xiao, let's talk. Han Qingwu's face was solemn as she stared at Tan Xiao, who was sitting on the sofa in the living room. What do you want to talk about? Asked Tan Xiao. Let's talk about, said Han Qingwu. Her words came to an abrupt halt as her eyes shifted. Disbelief filled her eyes as she looked at Mu Weining drying her wet hair with a dry towel, and the pajamas she was wearing. She was dumbfounded for a moment. "Hello, Miss Han." Mu Weining chuckled. "I heard from Tan Xiao that you're coming over. Since we know each other, I came out to greet you. Why are you here?" asked Han Qinggu with a slight frown, feeling a bit awkward inside. "I'm staying here," said Mu Weining with a smile. Han Qinggu turned to look at Tan Xiao. After hesitating for a moment, she asked, "Are you in love?" "Someone once hurt me too deeply, so I'm too lazy to fall in love now," said Tan Xiao lightly. "Go rest first, Weining. I'm sure Miss Han must have something important to talk to me about since she's looking for me." "Then I won't bother you anymore, Miss Han," said Mu Weining with a chuckle. Han Qinggu watched Mu Weining's back until she disappeared into a room in the corridor. Then, she suddenly turned to look at Tan Xiao and asked, "You just said that someone once hurt you too deeply. Is that person called Xue Qingqing?" Tan Xiao's expression drastically changed. He abruptly got up from the sofa. A chilling light burst out from his eyes as he shouted in a deep voice, "Tell me, what did you remember?" Han Qinggu carefully observed Tan Xiao's expression. After being silent for a few minutes, she shook her head and said, "I only know this name." "I want to hear the truth," said Tan Xiao coldly. "What I said is the truth." Han Qinggu said, "I've figured out the inexplicable images that appeared in my mind before. Although I don't know how those images came to my mind, I'm sure that it's definitely related to me. Then there are two names, one is Xue Qingqing, and the other is Tan Xiao. These two people seem to be very important to me, even more important than myself." Tan Xiao shot a deep look at him before retracting his gaze. After sitting back on the sofa, he pointed to the opposite side and said, "Have a seat. You came to me so late, so I believe that's not what you want to tell me." After taking a seat, Han Qinggu then said with all seriousness, "Tan Xiao, I hope you can tell me something. It's about those images in my mind. Don't deny it. You must know something, because your name is what appeared in my mind. Didn't you inquire about my name when I saved you at the scene of the car accident?" asked Tang Xiao lightly. "Didn't my name appear in your mind? That's not what I'm talking about." Han Qinggu shook her head. "It's about you and Xue Qingqing." "Shut up," shouted Tan Xiao angrily. Han Qinggu stared blankly for a moment. Suddenly, a bright smile appeared on her solemn face. She looked deeply at Tan Xiao and said, "It seems that she's the one who hurt you. And you also know what exactly is going on with the images that appeared in my mind. Tell me. I want to know what's the relationship between you and me." "You're not qualified to know," said Tan Xiao indifferently. "I'm qualified to know," said Han Qinggu. "Because those images in my mind have seriously affected me. I even found that those images have begun to affect my life and even my character. Do you see it? This is what I learned from those images. This kind of means is not something a normal human can have." After saying that, Han Qinggu slowly raised her right hand. Several empty cups quietly floated on the coffee table between the two of them, and stayed motionless several centimeters away from the table. Tan Xiao was dumbfounded. He looked at Han Qinggu in disbelief and asked, "How did you do it?" "I don't know either," said Han Qinggu. "Ever since those images appeared in my mind last time, I felt a warm current flowing in my body. I can even control that warm current. Through the scenes, I learned how to release the warm current. And from there, I could control some things. Even my body also has some problems." As her voice faded away, she fiercely slapped the tempered glass of the coffee table. With her palm as the center, the tempered glass cracked in all directions. Bam! The coffee table was broken into pieces and scattered on the ground. Tang Xiao abruptly got up. Never once did he expect that the song he played and sang at the freshman welcoming party of Shanghai University would bring such an amazing change to Han Qinggu. The means in front of him were not something a normal person could do at all. "Give me your wrist," Tan Xiao said in a deep voice. Han Qinggu stretched out her wrist without hesitation. Tan Xiao put his fingers on Han Qinggu's pulse. As he sensed it, his divine sense quickly followed his perception into Han Qinggu's body. Through observation, he did find that there was a very strong flow of qi in Han Qingwu's meridians, and the circulation route was the basic route of a cultivation method. The first level of the 9 cold mysterious art. The corner of Tan Xiu's mouth twitched a few times. After releasing Han Qingwu's wrist, he stepped back and sat back on the sofa. Through observation, he had determined that what Han Qingwu had learned was the top cultivation method in the immortal world, the 9 cold mysterious art, which was cultivated by Xue Qingqing in the past. Even this peerless immortal art was taught to Xue Qingqing by him. Now because the true essence in Han Qingwu's body was circulating on its own according to the first level of the 9 cold mysterious art, not only was she able to display the object manipulation art, but her body had also undergone great changes. Therefore, her palm just now was completely due to the increase in her strength, which forcibly smashed the tempered glass table. Han Qingwu also sat down and stared at Tan Xiu, asking, "Tell me what's going on." Although I can feel that the changes in my body are not a bad thing and seem to be a good thing, I'm still worried. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "What I want to change the most now is not your body, but your brain. If you can remember everything, some things can be solved. However, I can give you time to slowly think about it. I believe that sooner or later, you'll remember everything." Han Qingwu stared blankly and frowned. "Remember? You said that the inexplicable images appearing in my mind are all my memories? You'll naturally know whether it's your memories or not later," Tan Xiu said lightly. "All right, what I can tell you is that the changes in your body are not only not bad for you, but also good for you. Don't worry about it." "Don't try to fool me, Tan Xiu," said Han Qingwu. Tan Xiu's expression turned cold as he indifferently said, "How did I fool you? The changes in your body are your business. What does it have to do with me? You came to me so late and asked me questions, and I've already answered all of them. Why are you still questioning me? I don't understand. Why do you want to hide some of the most important things?" Han Qingwu said. "But I'm sure that you're not an ordinary person. Otherwise, it's impossible for you to wake up from the shock so quickly after seeing my sudden special ability. You can even diagnose me by taking my pulse, so you can figure out that the changes in my body are good and not bad." Chapter 482. Tan Xiu's heart was full of complex emotions, but his face looked extraordinarily calm. He looked at Han Qingwu's serious expression and indifferently said, "Whether I'm an ordinary person or not has nothing to do with you. Han Qingwu, I still remember saying that you are you and I am me. I hope that we can keep a distance from each other." "Why?" Han Qingwu abruptly stood up with an angry expression on her beautiful face. She didn't know why she felt a dull pain in her heart after hearing Tan Xiu's words. "It's nothing. I just think that you're a teacher and I'm your student, and there's a generation gap between us," said Tan Xiu. "Furthermore, we've known each other for a long time, and you're still my teacher in charge, whereas I'm your student. So I don't want us to be too close and be misunderstood by others." Han Qingwu glared at Tan Xiu and loudly said, "I'm a woman and I'm not afraid, so what are you afraid of as a man? Whoever wants to misunderstand, just let them misunderstand. You're not married, and neither am I. Even if we're really together, who can stop us?" "You." Never once did Tan Xiu expect that Han Qingwu could say such words. Upon seeing her angry expression, Tan Xiu directly got up and said, "Miss Han, we're all adults and we need to be rational to see the problem. Even if you don't think for me, you still have to think for me. If we're too close, it will affect my relationship with my girlfriend. You can see that she's already living in my house. You came to see me so late. She may not say anything, but she's definitely uncomfortable inside." "You your girlfriend?" Han Qingwu murmured as she glanced at the corridor where Mu Weining just disappeared. Tan Xiu steeled his heart and nodded. "Yeah, Mu Weining is my girlfriend. Don't tell me you still don't understand? With her character, how could she live here if she's not my girlfriend? It's just that we didn't want to make it public before. Now that you're forcing me to say it, I can only be honest with you." Han Qingwu covered her chest with her hand. Suddenly, she felt as if something very important was missing from her heart. In that sense of loss, there was an indescribable pain. I understand." She turned around in a daze. Her expression became particularly dull as she walked out in a daze. She didn't even drive the car that was parked outside the courtyard. Instead, she walked out in a daze. Tan Xiu quietly followed behind her. After walking out of the courtyard, he looked at her gradually thinning figure and sighed in his heart. He knew that Han Qinggu was Xue Qingcheng, but the scene of the attack on the celestial world was still unforgettable for him. Therefore, his feelings towards Han Qinggu were very complicated. There was gratitude, hatred, and confusion. All kinds of emotions filled his chest. It was as if a bottle of 5 flavors had been knocked over, and all kinds of feelings kept surging in his heart. Did you two quarrel, master? Chen Jizhong quietly came to Tan Xiu's side. He looked at Han Qingwu's back with some pity and spoke softly. Tan Xiu nodded and then shook his head. After Han Qingwu's back disappeared around the corner in the distance, he sighed and said, "Some grievances are very complicated. You follow her. Don't let any accidents happen to her on the way back." Understood. Chen Jizhong had no right to interfere with Tan Xiu's emotional issues, but he still obeyed Tan Xiu's order and quickly returned to the courtyard. He picked up his coat and put it on, and then strode toward the direction where Han Qinggu left. When Tan Xiu returned to the living room, he found that Mu Weining had already come out of her room. She was sitting on the sofa in the living room and seemed to be lost in thought. Had it been in the past, Tan Xiu might have had the mood to ask about it. But now, he was too lazy to do so, and was ready to return to the second floor to calm himself down. "Tan Xiu, I already told you that she likes you." Mu Weining's voice sounded behind Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu's footsteps came to a halt. He turned to look at Mu Weining, who had just stood up and calmly said, "I'm sorry about what just happened. I used the excuse of you being my girlfriend to tell Han Qinggu to stay away from me." "Why did you do that?" Mu Weining forced a smile. "Although I don't want you to be with Han Qinggu, you used such a reason to refuse her and hurt her greatly. I once heard a saying that the threads of feelings are tangled if you can't cut them," Tan Xiu said lightly. "It's better to cut the Gordian knot and end this complicated emotional factor. I have my life and she has hers. Later, when she finds her husband and I have a family, both of us will forget each other's existence. Do you know what's the most terrifying thing in the world?" "What is it?" asked Mu Weining. "Time," Tan Xiu said. "Time can heal all wounds and make people forget a lot of things." "Time?" Mu Weining shook her head and said, "Maybe I'll believe your words if people can live for thousands of years. But a person's lifespan is only 100 years at most. Some unforgettable feelings will never be forgotten in the remaining decades. That pain will always be engraved in my heart, and that love will always be buried in the bottom of my heart." Tan Xiu fell into silence. He knew that Mu Weining was right. His high-sounding words just now were just to convince himself to forget Han Qinggu. But could he really forget her? He suddenly felt that he was a bit amused. The idea of deceiving himself and others unexpectedly came to his mind. He even realized that his original plan to live a carefree life seemed to be too difficult to achieve. Mu Weining looked at the silent Tan Xiu. Suddenly, a bright smile appeared on her beautiful face. She strode toward Tan Xiu and said with a smile, "Tan Xiu, you're the heaven's favored one in my heart. You're the most outstanding man I've ever met. I actually wanted to take advantage of your unstable mood to take advantage of it. Perhaps this is also the best chance I've ever had in my life. How about we make it real? You be my man and I'll be your woman. How about we get a marriage certificate tomorrow if you like? You don't have a fever, do you?" Tan Xiu didn't want to talk about this topic anymore. He deliberately raised his hand to touch Mu Weining's forehead, and then said with a smile. Mu Weining let out a faint smile as though she had seen through Tan Xiu's mind. She still persevered and said, "Don't try to change the topic. I don't have a fever and I'm very healthy now. I know you're very helpless and don't want to be entangled with so many outstanding women. If you marry me, you will be able to reject those women justifiably. Why not?" The smile on Tan Xiu's face slowly faded. He looked at Mu Weining's beautiful face and stepped back. He shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, but I can't give you feelings." "We'll talk about feelings later," said Mu Weining. "I believe that as long as I have your body, I can have your heart sooner or later." Tan Xiu shook his head again and said, "If I have my body, can I really have my heart? Maybe not. But how can I know if I don't try?" Mu Weining said. "If I win, then you'll belong to me completely. But if I lose, I'll admit it." Tan Xiu turned around and walked toward the stairs. He only said to Mu Weining, "I don't think you need to try. Someone has already taken my body, but they still can't have my heart. The knot in my heart can't be untied. Even if more people come to my door, I can't make them love me." Mu Weining was stunned. What she said tonight was all from the bottom of her heart. But she never expected that Tan Xiu would give her such an answer. Who was it? She really wanted to know who that person was. She even felt a faint jealousy in her heart. She was jealous of the woman who could have Tan Xiu, even if she couldn't have his heart. That night, Mu Weining was suffering from insomnia, and so was Han Qinggu. The dazed Han Qinggu left the Blue Star Villa complex and walked for a long time in a daze. She woke up because she was almost hit by a car on the road, and Chen Jizhong came to her rescue. She returned to her residence. Han Qinggu soaked herself in the bathtub for a long time. Her whole body seemed to be shrouded in a deathly aura. After crawling out of the bathtub in a daze, she lay on the bed in her pajamas and opened her eyes until dawn. The next morning, Tan Xiu went to the campus. After exchanging some books in the library, he chatted with Yu Kai, Xue Chao, and the others for a while. After that, he called Chen Jizhong and embarked on the journey back to Star City, Southgate Town. After Tan Xiu stepped into the house, he smelled a faint aroma of food. At this moment, his heart suddenly became tranquil. Home. I need a mother. He had been living in the immortal world for thousands of years. Even in his dreams, he hoped that one day, he would be able to smell the aroma of his mother's cooking when he returned home. He would be able to see her familiar back and see her forever young face. All of a sudden, he found that his previous messy mood was so ridiculous. Regardless of what he had encountered in the past, he was now back and truly living in the same world as his mother. "Xiu, where's your luggage?" Tang Yunda came down from the stairs on the second floor. He looked at Tan Xiu, who returned empty-handed, and asked with a faint smile. Tan Xiu didn't want to tell him about the interspatial ring, so he casually made up a reason. Yet he felt warm inside. His regret was that he had never felt the taste of a father's love. Now that he came back, not only did he return to his mother's side, but he also made up for that fatherly love, which made him feel even more warm inside. "Dad, where's Mom?" "She's cooking in the kitchen," said Tang Yunda with a smile. "I knew you were back, so I wanted to be her assistant. But she didn't agree no matter what." Tan Xiu smiled. He walked to the kitchen door and saw the back of his mother, Su Lingyun, who was busy. As if she heard his footsteps, Su Lingyun turned her head. "Xiu, you're back. Hurry up and wash your hands. I'm going to cook another dish, and then we can start eating." "Okay." Tan Xiu replied with a smile and turned to the bathroom with satisfaction. Dinner. There was only a family of 3, but they got along with each other happily and harmoniously. This kind of atmosphere not only filled Tan Xiu's heart with warmth, but also made Su Lingyun think of the past days. Her eyes turned slightly red, and her smile was particularly bright. Today we'll continue to watch the third night. Quiet Night's debt will soon be paid off. Soon, we can play the game of watching the second night with our brothers and sisters _. Chapter 483. It was a sunny 11th holiday, and the air seemed to be filled with a cheerful atmosphere. After leaving Southgate Town, Tan Xiu went straight to the magnificent Tang Corporation's HQ. However, what made him helpless was that none of the 4 security guards in charge of the security work knew who he was. "Sir, you're absolutely not allowed to enter without the magnificent Tang Corporation's work card. If you're really looking for someone, please contact the person you're looking for and ask him to come out and pick you up. You can enter after registering. I hope you can cooperate with us," the middle-aged security guard said solemnly with a straight body and a face full of righteousness. "This seems to be the second time I've been stopped outside my company's door," said Tan Xiu with a forced smile. "However, I won't make things difficult for you for the sake of your loyalty and dedication. I'll make a phone call and ask Kong Xia to talk to you." "Kong Xia? General Manager?" The 4 security guards were surprised after hearing it. Suddenly, they realized what Tan Xiao just said. What did he mean by his company? Tan Xiao dialed Kong Xia's number and told her that he was stopped at the company's entrance. Kong Xia giggled as he handed the phone to the security guard in front of him. After a while, the security guard looked shocked and nodded repeatedly. Then he respectfully returned the phone to Tan Xiao, bowed and said, "We didn't know it was you, boss. I hope you can forgive us." Tan Xiao patted his shoulder and smilingly said, "You've done a good job. If you didn't know me and rashly let me in, I would have questioned your work attitude and ability. Work hard and the magnificent Tang Corporation won't mistreat you." After that, under the excited eyes of the security guard, he walked inside. Tan Xiao didn't know what means Kong Xia used, nor did he know how much money she had spent. In short, all the original companies in this building had been moved away, and the entire building now belonged to the magnificent Tang Corporation. "Boss, how does it feel to be stopped by your own people and not let you enter your own home?" Just as Tan Xiao came out of the elevator, he saw a smiling Kong Xia and a particularly bright Andy outside. However, Kong Xia's words made Tan Xiao smile bitterly again and again. Afterward, the trio came to the general manager's office. After Kong Xia gave her seat to Tan Xiao, she stood in front of the desk and handed over a stack of documents, saying, "Boss, some of these documents are the financial statements of our magnificent Tang Corp since it started making profits, and some of them are the major forces I've sent to investigate. Take a look first, we can talk after that." Tan Xiao nodded, pointed to the sofa in the corner and said, "You guys wait for me first. I'll finish reading it first." 2 whole hours. Tan Xiao read all the information given to him by Kong Xia. Then he got up and went to sit in front of Kong Xia and Andy. After lighting a cigarette, he said while smoking, "Our magnificent Tang Corporation has a good income, so we're quite well off now. However, I'm very curious. What method did you use to get all the companies in this building to leave?" Kong Xia chuckled and said, "The world is bustling for benefits, and the world is bustling for benefits. With the combination of benefits and connections, as well as a batch of God's nectar that is very difficult to buy in the market, they are naturally willing to move away." Tan Xiao gave a thumbs up and praised, "It's really the right choice to let you work for me. Let's not talk about the financial matters first. I've read all the information about the forces that are targeting our magnificent Tang Corporation. A group of experts will come to Star City tonight, so I need to make some arrangements and then deal with them all." "How will you deal with them?" Kong Xia asked with a strange expression. "Make them disappear from the world," Tan Xiao said lightly. Kong Xia was startled and quickly asked, "Boss, do you want to kill them all?" "Killing them is not a good idea." Tan Xiao shook his head. "I'm going to quietly send them abroad to work in the mines in Africa for a few years. After a few years, when our magnificent Tang Corp has enough capital, we can release them and they won't pose any threat to us. I don't think it's a good idea." Kong Xia hesitated. "After all, there will be a steady stream of people coming after us. It's a temporary solution and not a permanent solution. That's why I said I need to make arrangements in advance," Tan Xiao said. "You should understand the principle of using the tiger's might to intimidate others, right? If those forces are aware that our country is involved, will they dare to continue being arrogant? I'll also make arrangements in advance for our products to go abroad in the future. Whoever dares to touch our magnificent Tang Corp will have to bear serious consequences." Kong Xia nodded thoughtfully and smilingly said, "I'm at ease with you taking care of things, boss." "Don't flatter me." Tan Xiao chuckled and said, "Call the company's top executives bought by the Tsubwa family of YDL, and the Bronze Group of M immediately. I need to talk to them." Kong Xia complied and immediately grabbed her mobile phone. A few minutes later, 4 middle-aged men and women came to the general manager's office. When they saw Tan Xiao's figure, their eyes immediately lit up and each of them looked excited. Before this, the company's top executives had always been anxious and restless, fearing that those who tried to buy them would retaliate against them if they didn't get a satisfactory answer. But now, the boss had unexpectedly appeared, indicating that he had come to solve this matter. "Boss," the 4 men respectfully called out. "I remember your names. Tan Xiao said with a smile. Except for Supervisor Wuxia, the three of you have dealt with those troublemakers at the celebration banquet of our magnificent Tang Corporation. I also learned about this matter from Kong Xia. It's very good, and I'm very happy to have you as the company's top executives. Upon hearing Tan Xiao calling her name, Wuxia immediately said with a smile, Boss, I also dealt with them at that time. I just smashed those people with wine bottles. You're all good. Tan Xiao smiled. Now, I have an important task for you. I don't know if you dare to take it. What task is it, boss? Asked Wuxia curiously. I'll give you some information. Take it and sell it to those who want to buy you, said Tan Xiao. After you get the money, tell them that the people from the state's special department have their eyes on them. Tell them to get the money and leave quickly. The four men looked at each other in dismay, not understanding why Tan Xiao would make such an arrangement. Seeing their confusion, Tan Xiao lightly smiled and said, Don't worry. The information is fake, mainly to confuse them. Also, I need them to send the news that the state's special department is involved in this matter back to their hometown. Are you trying to scare them, boss? Asked Wuxia. But if they find out that the information is fake, won't they get angry out of shame and retaliate against us? I have my own brilliant plan, said Tan Xiao. They won't retaliate. The reason I came here this time is to get rid of these future troubles and let our magnificent Tang Corp enter a faster development track. We'll do it, boss. A middle-aged executive solemnly said. How much money you can sell this information for is your own welfare, said Tan Xiao with a smile. I hope you can seize this opportunity. Really? The four men were pleasantly surprised. It must be noted that humans die for wealth just as birds die for food. Those who tried to buy them had given them a huge amount of money. They were absolutely willing to take the risk if they could make it their own money. Furthermore, this was not a betrayal, but dealing with the enemy, so they had no psychological burden. At noon, in a high-class guest room of the Long's dining hall in Star City, two top executives of the What family stood quietly in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, observing the movement outside. Four burly men in black suits stood on both sides of the door, looking like bodyguards. Big brother, do you think the magnificent Tang Corporation's supervisor will really sell us the God's Nectar recipe? There's only 5 minutes left according to our agreement, but she hasn't appeared yet. Alessandro's brows were tightly furrowed as his eyes kept glancing at the entrance below. She should know how powerful we are. Alessandro sneered. Since she has promised to cooperate with us, I'm sure she'll bring the thing we want. What if she deceives us with a fake thing? Alessandro hesitated. We have no way to verify the authenticity of the God's Nectar's formula. She won't dare, said Alessandro. There's an old saying in Wuxia that we accept money to eliminate disasters. Since she dares to accept our money, she won't dare to sell us a fake thing, else she won't be able to bear our anger. Unless she doesn't want to live anymore. You're right. Alessandro nodded. Our Tsubo family has always been bullying others, but we've never been bullied by others. Anyone who dares to deceive us is already dead. However, there's something I can't figure out. That woman refused us before, so why did she suddenly change her mind? Men die for wealth, just as birds die for food. Alessandro sneered. She may have been a bit timid at first, but she changed her mind after a few days of consideration. After all, the price we promised her is enough for her to live a comfortable life in any city in the world. Well, that makes sense. Aha, she's here. Alessandro's eyes suddenly lit up as he looked at the entrance below. I saw her, said Alessandro. Our men are already waiting for her, and she'll be brought here later. Prepare the money. We'll transfer the money to her account after we get the recipe we need. I'm sure she'll definitely run far away after getting the money. Those damn bastards of the magnificent Tang Corporation will never think that their God's Nectar recipe has actually fallen into our hands. If we can produce a good wine like God's Nectar according to the requirements of the recipe, it will definitely bring huge benefits to our family. At that time, it'll be even easier for you to run for the patriarch position, big brother. Today's third update is here. Quiet Night is going all out. Brothers and sisters, can you leave your tickets? Chapter 484. Upon hearing this, a satisfied smile appeared on Ashburford's rough face. His mind was already imagining the glorious scene of him becoming the patriarch of his family in the future. In the past, his family controlled a lot of grey businesses in YDL country, among which there were a lot of risks involved. In recent years, his father deliberately reduced a lot of grey businesses and began to invest in legitimate businesses on a large scale. Therefore, after they obtained the best wine in the world, God's Nectar, and tasted it through special channels, they immediately decided to contact the magnificent Tang Corporation and tried to get the exclusive dealership of God's Nectar in YDL country from the company. But the result disappointed them. The magnificent Tang Corporation didn't want to cooperate with them at all. In desperation, his father issued a death order that they must get the God's Nectar's production formula by any means. Since the magnificent Tang Corporation didn't want to cooperate, then they had to do it themselves. Ashburford was an exceptionally astute man, but he was also very conceited. Through the magnificent Tang Corporation's sales in God's Nectar, he judged that there was an extremely huge profit to be made from this wine. If his Tsubo clan could get it, it would double their family's wealth in just a few years, and their family's strength would be further enhanced. Such a result, it would play a vital role in his future election as the patriarch of his family. Knock, knock. The door was knocked. Ashburford strode forward and opened the door himself. Upon seeing Wuxia standing outside, a bright smile appeared on his rough face as he politely said, "Welcome, Miss Yu. Please come in." Wuxia walked into the room and said, "There's a problem, so I can't give you the God's Nectar's formula for the time being. I need money, so I'll give you the formula after the money is transferred to the account I gave you." Ashburford's expression changed. Despite the anger inside, he tried to restrain it and asked, "What's the problem?" Wuxia was silent for a moment and then said, "Someone from China's special department contacted the general manager of the Magnificent Tang Corporation last night. The entire Magnificent Tang Corporation is now under the state's protection. If I hadn't gotten the God's Nectar's formula ahead of time, I wouldn't have been able to act now." China's government? A look of dread appeared in Ashburford's eyes. He understood the situation in China very well. Once the government interfered in this matter, it would be troublesome. However, he secretly rejoiced that Wuxia was courageous and smart enough to get the recipe of God's Nectar in advance. "Miss Yu, I believe you have tried your best to understand what kind of existence our Tsubo clan is in the past few days. I don't want to threaten you, but you should know the consequences of lying to us. Give me your account number. I'll get someone to transfer the money to you now." Wuxia pondered for a moment and finally told Ashburford about a bank account. It wasn't even a Wuxia bank account, but a Swiss bank account. A few minutes later, a middle-aged man sitting in front of a computer looked up at Ashburford and said, "Boss, this Swiss bank account is a new one. It's about the other party's name and more information." Ashburford laughed. "Miss Yu is really smart. Although UBS has released some customer information, most of it is still confidential. If we transfer the money to this account, no one will know that there is suddenly a huge sum of money in your account. Even if you continue to work in the Magnificent Tang Corporation, you won't be in any danger as long as you don't expose yourself. There's an old saying in China that caution is the key to success," Wuxia said. Ashburford gave a thumbs up, turned his head and said, "Transfer the money to her." "Understood." The middle-aged man sitting in front of the computer immediately entered a string of account numbers and began to transfer the money online. 2 minutes later, $10 million was transferred to Wuxia's account. "Miss Yu, the money has been transferred to you. When will you give me the recipe of God's Nectar we need?" asked Ashburford. "It's not easy for me to take the risk to come here today," said Wuxia. "People from the state's special department have been keeping an eye on our company's top management, so it's not suitable for us to meet during the day. I'll be waiting for you at the entrance of the Happy Shopping Mart in the Old River Street district of Star City at 12 o'clock tonight. I'll personally give you the recipe of God's Nectar." Ashburford nodded and said, "You don't mind if I send someone to follow you in secret, do you? After all, we've already given you $10 million. If you want to run away, It will be very troublesome for us to find you. If you want to send someone to follow me, please do as you please, said Wuxia lightly. But I need to warn you that once I return to the magnificent Tang Corporation, I'm afraid the Chinese officials will keep an eye on me. It's best not to send anyone to follow me if you don't want to be exposed. I know what I'm doing, said Ashburford. Wuxia didn't stay any longer and directly left the room. She then quickly disappeared from the entrance of the Long's dining hall. At the same time, the same thing, but with different people, was going on in another 5-star hotel 10 kilometers away. However, the buyer this time was no longer someone from the Tsubwa clan, but a person in charge of the Bronze Group of M country. Of course, the rich and overbearing Bronze Group offered a higher price of $20 million to buy the recipe of God's nectar, skincare lotion, and scar removal cream. In the evening, in a car repair shop in the Old River Street district of Star City, hundreds of experts of the Everlasting Feast Hall had quietly arrived. The entire courtyard was full of people, but no one spoke. Among these people, apart from dozens of core experts of the Everlasting Feast Hall, the rest were all peripheral members. Although their strength was not as strong as the core experts, they were still many times more powerful compared to ordinary people. Boss Taizhongkui has been ordered to come here. With a valiant aura, Taizhongkui was the last to arrive and stood in front of Tan Xiu, respectfully reporting. Tan Xiu nodded and said, "Your task is very difficult, and your opponents should be very strong. I demand that you arrest all the members of the YDL country's Tsubwa clan in Star City, as well as the M country's Bronze Group in Star City, and send them out of the country through special means and throw them to the mines in Africa to work as coolies. Also, send some people to keep an eye on them. If anyone escapes, you can kill them." "We promise to complete the task," said Taizhongkui in a deep voice. Tan Xiu nodded. He took out 2 documents and handed them over to Taizhongkui, saying, "This is the information on all the members of the Tsubwa clan of the YDL country in Star City, and the Bronze Group of M country. All the people mentioned in these 2 documents had to be arrested. Of course, there may be some people who haven't been investigated yet, but you must find them and send them to the mining areas in Africa." "Understood," Taizhongkui respectfully replied. Tan Xiu glanced at everyone and said, "Come out 20 people. I need to make some other arrangements for you." Immediately, under Taizhongkui's order, 20 stalwart men came out. Tan Xiu distributed some forged documents to these 20 men and said in a deep voice, "Your task is very simple. Pretend to be people from the state's special department and appear in the vicinity of the magnificent Tang Corporation. Don't alert the enemy even if you find any suspicious people. Identify them in these 4 photos. If the 4 of them appear, then interrogate them. Remember, it's just a simple interrogation. Just ask them a few questions, and then let them go." "Understood." The 20 stalwart men memorized Tan Xiu's words deeply. After everything was arranged properly, everyone disappeared from the auto repair shop. Tan Xiu didn't leave, but turned and walked into a room next to the auto repair shop. "Has everything been arranged properly?" Kong Xia asked with a smile on her face. Tan Xiu nodded and said, "Everything has been arranged. We're just waiting for the net to be pulled at midnight." "You're not going to follow them?" asked Kong Xia. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "If I need to follow them for such a trivial matter, then these people I recruited are too useless. Don't worry. The core members of the Everlasting Feast Hall are all elites among elites. They have done this kind of thing many times, so they can definitely solve it easily. What I'm thinking about now is another issue." "What is it?" asked Kong Xia confused. "It's about Japan," answered Tan Xiu. "The Yamamoto clan from Japan has sent their people here, asking to cooperate with our magnificent Tang Corporation. But I refused them," said Kong Xia. "They haven't made any movements until now." "I already know about the situation there," said Tan Xiu. "The eldest daughter of the Yamamoto clan, Kawako Yamamoto, is one of my people. She just received an order 2 days ago to lead a group of experts to Star City. Just like the Tsubwa clan and the Bronze Group, they're preparing to bribe our company's top executives and steal the formulas of several of our products." "When did you turn Kawako into one of our people, boss?" asked Kang Xia in astonishment. A few months ago, answered Tan Xiao. Is she reliable? Asked Kang Xia worriedly. She's not of our clan, so I'm afraid. Don't worry. Tan Xiao waved his hand and said, Kawako's life is in my hands. She won't dare to betray me. Besides, she also has another identity, the future sect master of Japan's North Star One-Blade School. I'm going to train her well, and use her as a springboard to control some of Japan's power and wealth. Kang Xia knew Tan Xiao well. She didn't need to worry since he was so sure about it. Although she didn't know what method Tan Xiao used. Boss, what are you worried about since Kawako Yamamoto is one of us? I just said yesterday that I'm going to break out. Yet someone immediately said that I don't need to break out. Since everyone is so considerate of me, I'll just update 2 chapters a day after paying off my debt. Chapter 485. If Kawako returns empty-handed after being sent out this time, I'm afraid her status in the Yamamoto family will be affected, said Tan Xiao. She won't have a good reputation in the North Star One-Blade School. She might even be labeled as incompetent, which will have a serious impact on her taking over the Yamamoto family and the North Star One-Blade School in the future. Then what should we do? Asked Kang Xia. I'm still thinking about it, but I don't have a clue yet, answered Tan Xiao. Kang Xia's expression suddenly shifted and she quickly said, Boss, aren't we going to have someone pretend to be someone from the state's special department in our plan? Since we're going to deal with the YDL Mafia, the Tsubwa clan, the M Country's Bronze Group, as well as several other forces with ulterior motives, why don't we pretend to be someone from the state and join hands with Kawako Yamamoto to put on a show? How will we do it? Asked Tan Xiao with a slightly moved expression. Kang Xia let out a faint smile and said, What if we uproot all those forces that are plotting against us and vanish without a trace? What if the people brought by Kawako Yamamoto from the island nation eventually escape China despite suffering some losses? We'll pretend to be someone from the state. Tan Xiao's eyes lit up as he clapped and said, That's a great idea. I've already asked Yushasha to pass the news to the Tsubwa clan and the Bronze Group. I believe they have already sent the news back to their hometowns about the special department. If the people brought by Kawako Yamamoto from the island nation eventually escape after suffering some losses, then we can use Kawako Yamamoto's mouth to confirm this point. This will play a very good role in deterring those forces. I've solved your problems, boss, said Kang Xia with a smile. How are you going to reward me? Tan Xiao hugged her and kissed her on the forehead. Then he smilingly said, This is your reward. Kang Xia hugged Tan Xiao's waist and said, This reward is far from enough. I told you that I want to have a child with you. Tan Xiao stared blankly for a moment before his eyes swept to the innermost bed in the room. He immediately hugged her and strode toward the bed. The spring scenery was overflowing, filling the room with bashfulness. After more than an hour, Tan Xiao looked at the sleeping Kang Xia as he put on his clothes and walked out of the room. After lighting a cigarette, he silently thought about how to make his acting more realistic. Time flew by. Inside the high-class guest room of the Long's dining hall, Ashburford was smoking a thick cigar. After hanging up the phone, he looked at Alessandro with a vigilant expression and said in a deep voice, I've got the exact news that the Chinese government has indeed participated in this matter. Our men found them near the magnificent Tang Corporation. Call my father and tell him what's going on here. Alessandro's expression changed. He quickly nodded, picked up his phone, and walked to the side. A few minutes later, Alessandro hung up the phone and said, Big brother, I've finished the call. The Patriarch asked us to get the God's Nectar's formula at all costs while ensuring our safety. If the Chinese officials dare to make a move against us, immediately counterattack, and then quickly withdraw from Star City, and leave China through our special channel. Tonight, all of us will go to the River Street Old District that Yushasha mentioned. Once we get the God's Nectar formula, we'll immediately evacuate. It's no longer safe in China now. Yeah, I think so too. Alessandro said. Ashburford looked at the time and said, There's only half an hour left before midnight. Although we're not far from the River Street Old District, we'd better rush there just in case. That's right, have the people we've sent to set up the place? They've been set up, said Alessandro. It's fine if there's no danger, but if there is, our men will immediately attack. Great. River Street Old District. The entrance of the Happy Shopping supermarket was dark. Wuxia, wearing a coat, a black hat, and a mask on her face, quietly walked to a dark corner and squatted there without moving. Dozens of members of the Tsubwa family were quietly observing her with binoculars near her, constantly transmitting Wuxia's movements to Ashburford. 5 minutes before midnight, 2 cars quickly stopped at the entrance of the Happy Shopping supermarket. As 6 or 7 people got off, Ashburford turned his head to look for Wuxia's trace. Why did you come so late? Wuxia stood up from the dark corner and looked at Ashburford with a dissatisfied expression, grumbling in a low voice with a bit of nervousness. There's still 4 or 5 minutes left before the appointed time. We're not late, said Ashburford. Have you brought what we need, Miss Yu? Wuxia glanced around like a thief. After finding that there was no abnormality in the surroundings, she quickly took out a list from her pocket and stuffed it into Ashburford's hand. She hurriedly said, "This is the recipe of God's nectar. You can test it immediately after you take it back. I won't lie to you, and I won't dare to lie to you. But remember, if this recipe is real, we'll act as if we've never seen it." Ashburford's eyes were filled with ecstasy. He quickly glanced at the recipe and said with a satisfied smile, "I understand. You're an employee of the magnificent Tang Corporation. Any employee who betrays the company's confidential information will be sentenced. Don't worry. We'll never betray you." Wuxia's expression slightly changed. She shot a deep look at Ashburford, and then turned around and ran to the distance. It didn't take long for her figure to disappear into the darkness in the distance. Ashburford turned to look at Alessandro and said in a deep voice, "Gather everyone. We're leaving Star City immediately." Understood. Alessandro also looked excited. He quickly took out his mobile and dialed a number. However, no one answered the phone even after the ringing ended. What's going on? Why isn't he picking up the phone? Ashburford's expression slightly changed and he asked in a deep voice, "He's not picking up the phone? What the hell is Arito doing? Isn't he in the vicinity? Let's go find them. That damn bastard. He might have lost his phone somewhere. I'll definitely punish him severely after I go back." Alessandro agreed and quickly ran away with a few of his men. After they patrolled the surroundings, he deeply furrowed his brows and returned, saying, "I can't find them, big brother. It's reasonable to say that they should be lying in ambush nearby. How come I don't see any trace of them?" Ashburford frowned and said, "Hasn't Arito been providing us with the location of Wuxia's previous hiding spot? How come they're gone? Find them. They must be in the vicinity." Then, everyone had been searching for more than half an hour. They used binoculars to observe many places, and even searched many hidden places. Yet they still couldn't find any trace of Arito and his men. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. One after another, ghostly figures approached them silently. Tai Zhongkue, who was in the lead, had a sharp dagger in his mouth. Like a ghost in the night, he appeared beside Ashburford and clamped the dagger between his teeth against Ashburford's neck. "How come we meet again, old friend?" Tai Zhongkue's cold voice rang in Ashburford's ears. At the same time, more than a dozen core experts of the Everlasting Feast Hall had already aimed their guns at Alessandro and the others. Ashburford's body stiffened. He turned his head with difficulty and looked at Tai Zhongkue. His pupils suddenly shrunk and he cried out in horror, "Heavens! Damn demon, no no no. It should be my dear Zaris. I know it's not your real name, but I only know you as such. Why are you here? Is there any misunderstanding between us?" "There's no misunderstanding between us, Ashburford," Tai Zhongkue sneered. "But you violated my boss's interests and tried to rob his things, so you must be punished. If I had killed you directly according to my original intention, it would have been a clean end to all troubles. Because I still remember the time you shot me in the left arm. Don't Zaris. We were enemies at that time, and you also killed many experts of my Tsubwa clan. I think we're even now. Also, who's your boss? I can talk to him. If there's any misunderstanding between us, I think it can be solved." "There's no misunderstanding between us," Tai Zhongkue sneered. Don't worry. My boss is a soft-hearted person and doesn't want us to kill you. But you must come with us. Of course, if you want to resist, I might really kill you. Star City. The Everlasting Feast Hall's people also captured the enemies in several other places. Everything went very smoothly. Aside from a few people who resisted and were ruthlessly killed, the rest were all knocked unconscious, tied up, and thrown into the container trucks that had been prepared in advance. Inside the auto repair shop in the Old River Street district of Star City, Tanxiu was sitting in the courtyard and thinking about something when his mobile phone rang. "Taizhongkui, how's it going?" asked Tanxiu directly after picking up the phone. "It's all done, boss," said Taizhongkui. "We've captured all the people listed in the information. In addition, we've also captured some people who weren't listed in the information. Right now, they have already been sent to the port by our people. They will be sent out of China tonight. Tell them to pay attention to their safety on the road," said Tanxiu. "Kill them if they dare to resist," said Tanxiu. "Understood," replied Taizhongkui respectfully. "Come to the auto repair shop we met before," said Tanxiu. "There's something I need to tell you. Also, settle the others and don't let them attract other people's attention." "I'll send them to the ship first, boss," said Taizhongkui. "Then I'll go to your place." "All right," said Tanxiu. Chapter 486. The autumn wind rustled as it drizzled. Late at night, 3 ghostly figures silently approached Tanxiu's auto repair shop. Immediately after, the 3 of them jumped over the wall and appeared in front of Tanxiu, who was sitting cross-legged on the roof of an abandoned car. With Tanxiu's strength, even the slightest movement in the wind could alert him. He instantly opened his eyes and clearly saw Taizhongkui and the 2 experts from the Everlasting Feast Hall. "How's it going, boss?" Cupping his fists, Taizhongkui said, "It's all done, boss. A total of 66 people have been sent to the smuggled cargo ship. We're not particularly familiar with the route, but I heard from Smuggler Head that there hasn't been any incident in recent years. As long as the ship arrives in the Southern Sea region, we have a special route to pick them up and easily send them to the mining area in Africa." Tanxiu nodded and said, "I'm relieved that you're handling this matter. However, I called you here because I have other things to arrange." "Please instruct us," said Taizhongkui respectfully. "We've cleaned up those forces that have come to Star City and are eyeing the magnificent Tang Corporation," said Tanxiu. "But there are still some forces that haven't given up and are expected to come to Star City in the next few days. Therefore, I need you to cooperate with the other party to put on a good show." "Who are they?" asked Taizhongkui, confused. "The Yamamoto clan of Japan," answered Tanxiu. Killing intent burst out from Taizhongkui's eyes as he coldly said, "Why do we have to cooperate with the Yamamoto clan, boss? I know this family well. They are ruthless and have countless despicable and shameless moves, making it impossible to guard against them. Once in Europe, I fought with the Yamamoto family. Although I killed many of their people, a few of my brothers were also killed by them." "The Yamamoto clan is indeed not a good bunch," said Tanxiu lightly. "But the one who will lead the team to Star City this time is the eldest daughter of the Yamamoto clan. She's also one of the future sect masters of Japan's North Star One Blade School. Her name is Kawako Yamamoto, and she works for me." Taizhongkui's complexion changed and he quickly said, "I've heard of this Kawako Yamamoto, boss. She's an outstanding junior of the Yamamoto family, and a disciple of the North Star One Blade School. She's deeply favored by the North Star One Blade School's master. A few years ago, Kawako Yamamoto was involved in more than a dozen sensational assassinations in Europe and South America." Tanxiu said, "She is indeed very powerful. Although there is still a gap between her and you, I believe she will soon catch up with you with her aptitude. Therefore, in addition to working, you must also diligently cultivate. Also, I just said that she's my subordinate, so you don't have to worry about her loyalty. This time, she's here on orders, so you guys have to put on a show with her." Taizhongkui said, "Boss, just tell me what you want." Tanxiu slowly explained the plan in his mind. After he finished, he seriously said, "You must act appropriately for Kawako Yamamoto's position in the Miyamoto family to not be shaken. Once she brings her men to Star City, I'll give you a list of people to eliminate. But you can't kill the others, just seriously injure them. Understood. Taizhong Kue cupped his fists and replied. Early in the morning, the first ray of sunlight shone on the earth. The leaves that were about to turn yellow swayed in the cool breeze. Several kinds of flowers that would only bloom in autumn in the courtyard were filled with a faint fragrance in the wind. The air is so fresh. The door was pushed open as Kang Xia, who was neatly dressed, came out. After stretching her body comfortably, her eyes fell on Tan Xiao, whose hair was wet with dew. Tan Xiao floated down and smilingly said, "It was drizzling last night, so the air is quite fresh. Did you sleep well? Can we leave now?" Recalling the charming scene last night, Kang Xia's beautiful face blushed as she nodded and said, "I rested well." "That's right, did the everlasting feast hall's people come back last night?" "Taizhong Kue was here," said Tan Xiao. "Our plan was very successful. Those who conspired against our magnificent Tang Corp have all been sent to the ship. I believe they will appear in a remote mining area in Africa in a few days. Also, I've told them everything I need to know, so I believe they can handle it well." "They're really amazing," sighed Kang Xia. "Any one of them is much stronger than the so-called martial arts grandmasters," said Tan Xiao with a smile. "Besides, their experience abroad has made them competent for a lot of things, such as last night's trivial matter. They can easily handle it." Kang Xia's eyes were a bit blurred as if she recalled something. She didn't move and didn't speak again. "What are you thinking about?" asked Tan Xiao. Kang Xia came back to her senses and smilingly said, "I'm imagining the scene 20 years later, boss. You have big ideas, great courage, wisdom, and ability, and vision that ordinary people can't compare with. I can't imagine how powerful you will be 20 years later." "I know you're just flattering me, but I still feel very comfortable listening to it." Tan Xiao couldn't help laughing. "But how did you come up with this idea?" "Those children are street children," said Kang Xia. For a moment, Tan Xiao was silent and slowly said, "I do want to adopt a lot of street children with good aptitude and character, but I'm afraid only a few of them will be able to leave this place alive with me in the future. As long as they can live in the future, let alone training them for 20 years. Even training them for 200 years won't be a problem." "Can people really live for 200 years? asked Kang Xia curiously. "I've seen terrifying people who have lived for 20,000 years, or even longer." Tan Xiao mysteriously smiled. "You know little about some things now, so wait for the future. As long as you cultivate seriously and perform well, I guarantee that you'll be able to leave with me in the future." "Where to?" asked Kang Xia quickly. "To the place where the immortals live," Tan Xiao said with a smile. "All right, let's not talk about this. I'm a bit hungry now, so let's have breakfast first. Then, I'll send you to the company since I have other things to do." "Where are you going?" asked Kang Xia with a confused expression. "Star City Chinese Medical Hospital." A trace of a smile was revealed on the corner of Tan Xiao's mouth. "At Star City Chinese Medical Hospital." At the hospital's entrance, Li Hongji, who was wearing a white coat, paced back and forth with an anxious expression on his face. From time to time, he would raise his wrist to check the time of the clock's rotation. Beside him, Dai Xinhua was also a bit anxious, but she was more proud. "Dean, why don't I give Master a call?" Finally, Dai Xinhua couldn't help but ask. Li Hongji's expression moved, but he immediately shook his head and said, "I don't think it's necessary. Since Tan Xiao has promised to come to our Chinese medical hospital today, I believe he won't go back on his words. Let's wait. There's still more than half an hour before work starts. I believe he'll come on time. I called Master last night and confirmed that he has returned to Star City from Shanghai," said Dai Xinhua with a smile. "Maybe he's on the way now." "All right." Li Hongji felt a bit relieved, but his eyes kept looking at the ends of the roads outside. Screech! The Land Rover Range Rover's emergency braking sound sounded near Li Hongji and Dai Xinhua. As the driver's window was opened, Tan Xiao poked his head out and asked with a smile, "President Li Xinhua, what are you doing outside? You're not waiting for me, are you?" "Master." Dai Xinhua's eyes lit up as she called out in surprise. Li Hongji was also pleasantly surprised. He clapped and said, "You've finally come, Tan Xiao. Our hospital is now full of people, all of whom are waiting for you. I'm afraid I'll be eaten by them if you don't come." "President Li, you don't need to be so exaggerated," said Tan Xiao with a smile. "All right, I'll park the car in the parking area first. You wait for me in the consultation room." "There's no parking space in the parking area, Tan Xiao," said Li Hongji quickly. "Give the car to the security office and tell them to find a parking space. Let's walk to the consultation building first. Due to some special reasons, your previous consultation room can't be used anymore. I've sent someone to prepare a more spacious one for you." After getting off the car, Tan Xiao threw the car key to a security guard at the side and curiously asked, "Special reasons? What special reasons?" Li Hongji pointed inside and said, "Take a look yourself." From the largest consultation room on the east side of the consultation building, there are a total of 2 lines. All of them have one thing in common, that is, they want to see you for consultation. Besides, there's still more than half an hour before the doctors officially go to work. Who knows how long the 2 lines will be after half an hour? Tan Xiao looked inside and saw the 2 long lines about 20 to 30 meters away. His mouth fiercely twitched a few times. Just the 2 lines outside the consultation building alone had a total of hundreds of people. Even if only 1/3 of them were to see a doctor, the number would still be more than 100. Adding the number in the corridor inside the consultation building, Tan Xiao simply didn't dare to imagine how long it would take for the consultation and treatment to finish receiving all the patients. "President Li, there are so many people. I won't be able to see all of them today. How about you think of a way to share these patients with other doctors? Of course, you can also transfer them to me if you really encounter a difficult and complicated disease." Li Hongji forced a smile and said, "I also want to." Li Hongji forced a smile and said, "But most of them came from all over the country just for your treatment. Even some of them have been staying in our Star City Chinese Medical Hospital for more than a month just to wait for you." Tan Xiao pondered for a moment. Then he gritted his teeth and said, "If that's the case, then so be it. However, you have to hurry up and let them know how many patients there are in the queue. Then we'll start from the last patient in the queue. For the patients who come to the Chinese Medical Hospital, if their condition isn't urgent, you can't arrange to see them today. Else, I won't be able to finish the treatment even if I'm exhausted to death today. There are only 2 monthly votes today. It's the end of the month. I'm begging for a monthly vote to support me." Chapter 487. According to my observation, Tan Xiao, the number of patients who have already arrived is probably more than 200, said Li Hongji worriedly. "Are you sure you can finish the treatment today?" "I'm not sure, but I can give it a try," answered Tan Xiao. "You've worked hard, Tan Xiao." Li Hongji nodded. "The hospital will try its best to fulfill any request you have for today's consultation." Tan Xiao let out an indifferent smile. The hospital's help was not much for him. However, he was very satisfied with Li Hongji's attitude. As they came to the largest consultation room on the east side of the consultation building, Tan Xiao looked at the 100-square-meter consultation room. Aside from the consultation tables and chairs, there were only some simple office tools and treatment equipment. However, there was a place covered by a curtain in the innermost corner. Tan Xiao didn't need to go there to guess that it should be a hospital bed. "President Li, you can go and do your work. Just leave this place to me," said Tan Xiao to Li Hongji next to him after looking around. Quickly, he sent Li Hongji away, and a faint smile appeared on his face as he said, "Xinhua, prepare in advance according to the previous situation. We'll start the consultation later. Also, there are a lot of patients today, so I think we'll be busy until late at night. You'd better be mentally prepared." "Master, I can learn from you. Let alone working until late at night, I can even work for 3 days and 3 nights in one go," said Dai Xinhua with a smile. "Also, I've prepared everything, so we can start at any time." "Then let's start," Tan Xiao said with a smile. "There's still half an hour before the doctors start working, Master," said Dai Xinhua quickly. "Do we still need to wait according to the previous consultation time?" Tan Xiao's expression turned serious as he said with all seriousness, "Xinhua, you're my disciple. I hope you won't be affected by the rules and regulations in the future. The working hours are set by people, and they can be broken by people. As a doctor, saving the dying and helping the injured is a matter of course. Saving people is like putting out a fire. I'd rather do it earlier than later. Upon hearing this, Dai Xinyue quickly said, Master, I understand. Tan Xiu nodded and said, Go. Let's see if the queue is over. When you're done, come back and let me know how many patients we have today. On your way out, let the 4 patients in the front row come in. 10 minutes later, when Tan Xiu had finished diagnosing the first 4 patients, the number of patients had also been counted. To his slight relief, the number of patients was less than he had expected. There were only 162 patients. Consultation. Healing. What Tan Xiu didn't know was that while he was busy in the spacious and bright consultation room, the outside world was in chaos. With the passage of time, more and more patients and their family members arrived at the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Many of them were travel-worn and came to ask for Tan Xiu's consultation and treatment. At this moment, Li Hongji was standing at the window of the president's office. He looked at the sea of people in the courtyard downstairs with all kinds of noises coming one after another. His complexion was faintly pale. Although he had thought that the young divine Dr. Tan Xiu would come to the Chinese medical hospital for consultation in October, he never thought that there would be so many people. His eyes wandered back and forth at the hospital's entrance for a few laps. A faint bad premonition was brewing inside his heart. Knock, knock. The office's door was knocked hard. As the door was pushed open from the outside, a vice president strode into the room. He came to Li Hongji's back and hurriedly said, President, there are too many patients coming to our hospital. Now, the number of patients has exceeded our hospital's usual visitor flow by more than 10 times. If this goes on, it will be a big problem. Li Hongji turned his head with difficulty and looked at the vice president's anxious face. His lips squirmed a few times as he forced a smile and said, This is a hospital. The patients come to our hospital for treatment. We can't just shut them out, can we? I also know that there are too many people. The hospital is now flooded with people everywhere, but what can we do? We've already notified the patients who came later, but they won't stop at all. Do you want me to send security guards to drive all these people out? The vice president said in a deep voice, President, we'll call the police if it really doesn't work. The number of security guards in the hospital is too small. We simply can't maintain the current situation. In order to avoid a stampede and other emergencies, we'll ask the police officers from the local police station to help. They should be able to maintain the order. Li Hongji was dumbfounded. Never did he expect that the vice president in front of him could actually come up with such a suggestion. However, after giving it a thought, he felt that it was indeed a good idea. It must be noted that there were so many people coming to the hospital. In case of a stampede and other emergencies, it would be extremely dangerous. I'm afraid it won't be enough to maintain the order, even if all the personnel from the nearby police stations come. How about this? I'll personally contact the leaders of the Municipal Public Security Bureau and ask them to send a large number of police officers to help maintain the order. In addition, some doctors who had easy jobs or were on vacation were also transferred over to help maintain order. It's a good thing that everyone approves of our hospital and our doctors. But if there's a big problem in our hospital, it will be troublesome. Understood. I'll do it at once. The vice dean turned around and ran outside at lightning speed. At the Star City Public Security Bureau, Deng Jianmin walked into the office in high spirits. Recently, he had been very relaxed due to the low incidence of criminal cases. Although many of the previous cases were ultimately unable to be solved, it was all in the past and he wasn't affected too much by those cases. Maybe I'll be working in the provincial hall at this time next year? Deng Jianmin strode into the office. He habitually took out a cigarette and lit it up. After taking a deep puff, he happily thought about it. After all, the big leader of the provincial hall had recently accepted his visit and even encouraged him to work hard. Even if he had to go further, he must still serve the people. What a pity! If the previous cases can be solved smoothly, then it will be even more successful. Ring, ring, ring. The landline's ringtone sounded. Deng Jiamin walked to the desk, grabbed the microphone and said, Deng Jiamin speaking, who is this? Chief, the president of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, Li Hongji, said that he has an important matter to discuss with you. He called you but your phone wasn't turned on. A respectful voice came from the other side of the phone. Deng Jiamin took out his mobile and found that it had automatically shut down due to running out of battery. He immediately said, I see. I'll call him back later. After hanging up, Deng Jiamin charged his phone. After the phone was turned on, he found Li Hongji's number and dialed it. President Li, are you looking for me? Yeah. I have something to ask of you. Chief Deng, you must help me. Deng Jiamin was a bit surprised inside. After all, it was really rare for someone of Li Hongji's status to ask him for help. One must know that he had known Li Hongji for many years, yet he had never been asked by him. After pondering for a while, he said with a smile, President Li, please speak your mind. Li Hongji forced a smile and said, Chief Deng, our Star City Chinese Medical Hospital's young divine doctor, Tan Xiao, came back to give medical services before the National Day holiday. As a result, the hospital's patients and their family members nearly overcrowded our hospital. I'm afraid that a stampede will happen, and the patients' family members will make trouble. So, can you send a group of policemen to help maintain the order? Deng Jiamin was dumbfounded. Never once did he expect that Li Hongji would make such an absurd request. He wanted the police to maintain the order, because the hospital had too many patients? Wasn't this too exaggerated? President Li, are you kidding me? Do you really need the police from the Public Security Bureau to help maintain the order in this situation? Even if there are too many patients, it shouldn't be to this extent, right? Li Hongji said with a helpless expression. Chief Deng, the number of patients in our Star City Chinese Medical Hospital has increased a lot in the last 2 months. But the number of patients and their family members today is 10 times more than in the past. Now, not only the hospital's consultation building, but also the courtyard outside, and even the hospital's entrance are surrounded by a lot of people. If you don't believe me, you can immediately bring some people to our Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. You'll understand when you come. Deng Jiamin hesitated for a moment before he nodded and said, All right. I'll bring some people there now. We'll talk about it after we see the situation there. All right. The call ended. Deng Jiamin was at a loss whether he had to laugh or cry as he shook his head. Although he believed in Li Hongji's character and also knew his character, he still couldn't believe that such an exaggerated thing would happen in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. It must be noted that a stampede incident would only happen when the city held some large-scale activities. How could it possibly block the entire hospital when they went to see a doctor? Immediately after, he brought 7 or 8 policemen and quickly rushed to the vicinity of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. When he looked at the hospital's entrance from afar, his expression turned a bit sluggish and disbelief filled his eyes. At the hospital's entrance was a dense mass of people. Even the road outside the hospital had caused a serious traffic jam. If it weren't for more than a dozen traffic policemen who had arrived and were nervously clearing the road, it would have been very difficult for their 2 police cars to rush here. This scene, how come it's similar to those large-scale activities held in the city? It seems that Li Hongji was right. The people I brought with me won't be of any use at all. Deng Jiamin made a phone call, and then led a few policemen to get off the car, and quickly ran toward the hospital's entrance. Even after they arrived near the entrance, it took him and several policemen more than 10 minutes to squeeze through the hospital's entrance. The situation in the courtyard made him even more dumbfounded, and his face was filled with shock. Too many people. Too many people. Just from his visual estimation, there were at least 7,000 or 8,000 people in the entire courtyard outside the hospital. What was even more outrageous was that even the gaps between the cars in the parking area were full of people. Chapter 488. Tian Xiaoming was very depressed, to the point of vomiting blood. As an internet celebrity with average fame but a comfortable life, she accompanied her mother to the Chinese medical hospital today to see a doctor. What made her speechless was that the entire Star City Chinese Medical Hospital was filled with a sea of people before 8 o'clock. The most important thing was that the number of people in the hospital didn't decrease at all, but sharply increased instead. Mom, why don't we leave? Let's go to another hospital to see a doctor. There are so many people here. Even if we wait for 3 days and 3 nights, we still won't be able to get a number. Tian Xiaoming, who was standing at the entrance of the Chinese medical hospital, said with a helpless expression, "No way. I heard that the young divine doctor with extraordinary medical skills has finally come to Star City Chinese Medical Hospital to see a doctor. It would be a pity if we can't get a number. Rumor has it that the young divine Dr. Tan Xiu's consultation and treatment speed is very fast. If we're lucky, maybe we can get a number today." Zhao Qin, who was nearly 50 years old but had maintained her good looks, was still as charming as before. As she spoke, even she herself didn't have any confidence. Tian Xiaoming said with a helpless expression, "Mom, look at the people in this hospital. Not to mention that the young divine doctor's treatment speed is very fast. Even if he can treat a person in 3 to 5 minutes, I'm afraid we won't get a number today. Just look at the people here, they are like ants." Zhao Qin forced a smile and said, "Let's wait and see." Tian Xiaoming was well aware of her mother's physical condition. Her heart was always in pain. Yet she couldn't find the problem, which had always made her mother anxious and restless. Since she wanted to see the young divine Dr. Tan Xiu's consultation and treatment, then she would accompany her. Looking at the scene around, Tian Xiaoming sighed inwardly. That young divine doctor named Tan Xiu is really amazing. He just came to the Chinese medical hospital to see a doctor, yet he can get the recognition of so many patients. He's simply a role model for our generation. If only my live broadcast had a lot of popularity and I had so many loyal fans, how good would that be? Suddenly, her expression moved as a thought emerged in her mind. Suddenly, her bright eyes turned more spirited. After glancing around, she finally looked at the family of 3 next to her and asked, "Hello, can I ask you a question?" The young woman holding the child said with a smile, "What is it?" Tian Xiaoming asked, "Are you also here to see the little magic doctor?" The young woman nodded and said, "Of course I'm here to see the young divine doctor. My daughter's health isn't good. There's something wrong with her kidneys. We've spent a lot of money and visited many hospitals, but there's no cure. Therefore, when we heard that the young divine doctor could cure my daughter's illness, we rushed over from Jingmen Island. We've been waiting here for a few days." Tian Xiaoming stared with wide eyes and exclaimed, "You came from Jingmen Island? And he's been waiting here for several days?" The young woman said, "Yes. What's the fuss about? More than half of the patients who come here come from all over the country. I even heard that some people have been waiting here for more than a month." Tian Xiaoming felt her heart beating wildly. The shock made her unable to calm down for a long time. After a long while, she remembered to take out her phone and open the live broadcast room. "Io, the host is online now. That's amazing. Isn't the live stream scheduled at 8 p.m. every day? Fortunately, I've set a reminder for the host, else I wouldn't have been able to catch the goddess anchor. How come you're online now, Sister Meng?" That's strange. Where are you now? Why are there so many people around? Goddess, where are you? Ming, what's going on?" Just as Tian Xiaoming appeared in the live broadcast room, the number of viewers increased. In just a few minutes, the number of viewers in her live broadcast room had reached more than 4,000. Looking at the subtitles, Tian Xiaoming finally coughed lightly and said, "Hello everyone. It's true that I live broadcast at 8 p.m. every night. But I've encountered a big event today. It's an incredible thing, so I want to share it with everyone. Do you see the environment I'm in? Do you see the sea of people? I can tell you that I'm in the Chinese medical hospital in Shuangqing province. And today, thousands of people have come here. All of them came from all over the country, because of the young divine doctor's medical service here. Just now, my little heart nearly jumped out of my chest when I learned about this situation. There are so many people. Some of them came to Star City a few days ago, while some came more than a month ago to wait for the young divine doctor's medical service today. It's hard for me to imagine just how powerful that young divine doctor is. How come there are so many patients coming to him for consultation and treatment? Do you know? Have you seen it? There are so many patients coming to the hospital that even the Public Security Bureau's police have been dispatched. I just looked outside. The number of police inside and outside the hospital is at least a few hundred people. Along with Tian Xiaoming's explanation, the comments section had been turned upside down. Countless comments and messages were constantly flooding the screen. Heavens! Young lady Meng, are you kidding me? Western medicine is far more powerful than Chinese medicine nowadays. How can a small Star City Chinese medical hospital have such a big reputation? Goddess Meng, is it true? Is that young divine doctor really that powerful? Is he a swindler? It's unbelievable. I thought it was some kind of large-scale event. I never thought it was a hospital. Divine Dr. Tang, I know you, young divine Dr. Tang Xiao. He's the most powerful divine doctor in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. I have a relative in my family who got a very troublesome disease, but divine Dr. Tang cured him. Dear Meng, why did you go to Star City Chinese Medical Hospital? Is your health not good? As the comments kept flashing in the comments section, Tian Xiaoming found that she couldn't wait to read more. However, she still picked some of the questions that she saw and felt that she could answer them. She said what she knew and what she was thinking. When the fans found out that Tian Xiaoming was accompanying her mother to see a doctor, they immediately sent their blessings and greetings, as well as endless gifts, one after another. Among them, there were several local tycoons who threw away a lot of money. The amount of gifts was almost more than the total monthly income of the previous live broadcast. Tian Xiaoming was excited. She never dreamed that she would get such a big harvest in just half an hour of live broadcast. However, what she didn't expect was that because the number of people in her live broadcast room kept rising, and several local tycoons threw away a lot of money, it had attracted the attention of the website's management. Pinned. It's actually pinned? Tian Xiaoming looked at the number of fans in the live broadcast room displayed on the mobile screen, as well as the soaring speed. Her mouth gaped a lot. Her appearance was pure and cute, and the shocked expression on her big mouth made her look very silly and cute. Just this exaggerated expression alone caused a burst of crazy gifts and gifts. At the same time, many fans in the livestream room edited the livestream and disseminated the video through some channels. For a time, many people knew that there was a big news in Star City. They knew that there was a young divine doctor with superb medical skills in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Among them, there were also many people who put up the banner of "Police Escort the Hospital." This live broadcast was held by a small anchor in a small live broadcast room. Like a butterfly effect, it was constantly being forwarded and spread by various channels. It was 12 o'clock sharp at noon. Tan Xiao was still consulting and treating the patients. He almost didn't dare to waste the slightest bit of time the whole morning. Even so, he still only managed to consult and treat more than 60 patients. Among them, there were 2 very troublesome patients. He even let them go to the hospital's inpatient department first. After he finished today's consultation, he would go to the inpatient department's ward to treat them. Excuse me. Everyone, excuse me. Li Hongji, along with several leaders, squeezed into the consultation room and saw Tan Xiao performing acupuncture on a patient behind the curtain. He quietly waited for 2 or 3 minutes before he saw Tan Xiao come out. Dr. Tang, it's already noon. Let's take a break and go to the cafeteria for lunch. There are still a lot of patients, so we'll treat them in the afternoon, said Li Hongji. Tan Xiao was silent for a moment. He slowly shook his head and said, I won't go to the cafeteria for lunch. How about this, Dean Li, can you get someone to send me food? I'll just eat a few mouthfuls, and then continue to consult and treat the patients. Li Hongji opened his mouth and forced a smile. Dr. Tang, strike a balance between work and rest. Tan Xiao helplessly said, I also know that we need to strike a balance between work and rest. But there are too many patients. If I don't hurry up, I'm afraid I won't be able to finish them by tomorrow morning. Li Hongji forced a smile and said, Dr. Tang, even if you hurry up, I'm afraid you won't be able to finish them by tomorrow morning. Outside. Sai, I'll tell you. There are too many patients outside. Not only the hospital's courtyard is full of people, but even the outside of the hospital has been crowded. Our comrades from the Public Security Bureau have dispatched hundreds of police officers to barely maintain the order. But those patients said that they won't leave until you come. What? Tang Xiu's eyes stared wide with disbelief on his face. After a while, he hurriedly asked, "Didn't you tell them that only the patients who get the number today can be treated? Those who can't get the number can come back tomorrow?" Li Hongji forced a smile and said, "I did. Our hospital's security guards have broadcast it dozens of times outside, but it's useless. They don't want to leave, so I can't send people to drive them away." Tan Xiu gulped down his saliva and said, "I don't care about that much. President Li, send someone to supervise them. Those who have the number today, give them the treatment. As for those who don't have the number, give them the number according to today's team, and tell them to come early tomorrow morning. Remember, the number of the number tomorrow will be the same as today's." Got it. Today's 3 chapters have been released, asking for monthly votes. Chapter 489. For the whole day, Tan Xiu stayed in the consultation room, consulting and treating the patients. Although he was very fast, the number of patients was too many. At 10 o'clock in the evening, he finally sent away all the patients who were in the queue. What made him helpless was that today's treatment wasn't over yet. There were 6 patients who needed to be treated, all of whom were waiting in the inpatient department. "Xinyue, you must be tired, right?" Tan Xiu stood up and stretched his body. He then turned to look at Dai Xinyue, whose complexion was a bit pale with thick sweat on her forehead, and said with a smile, "I'm really tired, master." Dai Xinyue forced a smile. "I'm afraid I'll faint if there are dozens more patients." Tan Xiu sighed. "Your physical fitness is too poor. I'll teach you something else in the next few days that can greatly improve your physical fitness. How about this? I'll treat the 6 patients in the inpatient department myself. You go home and rest as soon as possible. You can come here before 8 a.m. tomorrow." Dai Xinyue shook her head and said, "You must finish what you started, master. Since I'm your disciple and assistant, I must accompany you to treat all the patients today. Besides, studying with you for a day is more rewarding than reading books and studying for a year. I'm not afraid no matter how tiring or bitter it is." Tan Xiu raised his thumbs up and praised, "You're worthy to be my disciple. You're able to endure hardships and work hard. You're also diligent and eager to learn. Very good. How about you take a leave of absence from the Chinese medical hospital after the holiday ends in October, and then go to Shanghai with me?" "Why would I go to Shanghai with you, master?" asked Dai Xinyue curiously. "I'll try my best to teach you all the Chinese medicine knowledge I know in a few months," said Tan Xiu. "I'm sure that as long as you're diligent and eager to learn, you'll be able to compete with those Chinese medicine practitioners who have been immersed in Chinese medicine for decades, even if you can't reach my level after a few months of study." Dai Xinyue's eyes lit up and she immediately said excitedly, All right. I'll listen to your arrangement, master." Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and said, "You have a good attitude, but it's too late today. If you insist on following me to treat the remaining 6 patients, I'm afraid you won't be able to rest well tonight. If he didn't rest well tonight, he might not have the energy for the whole day tomorrow. Go back. Take a bath and have a good night's sleep. I'll be waiting for you at 8 a.m. tomorrow." This, Dai Xinyue was a bit hesitant, but after seeing Tan Xiu's serious expression, she finally nodded and said, "Then I'll go back first, master. You should hurry back and rest after treating those patients." Tan Xiu nodded slightly. He packed up his things and walked out of the consultation room with his medical kit. He saw Li Hongji and several senior leaders of the Chinese medicine hospital standing outside the door. To Tan Xiu's surprise, in addition to the leaders of the Chinese medicine hospital, there was also an old acquaintance, Deng Jianmin, the director of the Municipal Public Security Bureau. "What are you doing?" asked Tan Xiu in surprise. Li Hongji shot a deep look at Tan Xiu and said, "Dr. Tang, I don't know what to say about your performance today. It's too shocking and too touching. I'm very happy and proud to have such a divine doctor like you in the medical field. Thank you. Thank you." Tan Xiu was like a monk scratching his head and asking in a daze, "Did you make a mistake? Why are you thanking me for no rhyme or reason?" You let me see a miracle in the medical field today. You unexpectedly treated 156 patients in just one day, said Li Hongji. I'm grateful to you from the bottom of my heart, because you've brought good news to those patients. Tan Xiao didn't care about it and said with a smile, since I promised to come to the Chinese medicine hospital to provide medical services, it's my job. Presidently, you don't need to be so polite with me. It's fine as long as you don't let these policemen take me as a bad guy. Deng Jianmin paced 2 steps forward and smilingly said, Divine Dr. Tang, you're a good doctor who treats patients and saves lives. How can we arrest you? We may have had some misunderstandings in the past, but based on what you've done today, I can prove that what happened in the past had nothing to do with you. Tomorrow, I will personally lead a team to help maintain order. Tan Xiao let out a faint smile and said, Let bygones be bygones. My patient hasn't finished receiving treatment today, so I need to go to the inpatient department. Everyone, if there's nothing else, you should all go back and rest. After I finish treating the last 6 patients, I will go back to rest. Li Hongji quickly said, Dr. Tang, let's just forget it. It's already past 10 o'clock at night. If you treat the 6 more troublesome patients, it'll be at least midnight. You need a good rest after a day of high-intensity work. Tan Xiao smiled and said, I'm fine, don't worry. Saying. After that, he carried the medical kit and rushed to the inpatient department. Along the way, countless patients and their families pointed at Tan Xiao, their eyes full of admiration and gratitude. Just like what Li Hongji said, it was already midnight when Tang Xiao had cured the 6 patients whose conditions were more troublesome. After he drove back home, he simply washed his face and rinsed his mouth before directly going to bed. However, he only slept for 3 hours before he woke up and cultivated with full spirit. He cultivated until 5 a.m., after which, he washed his face and rinsed his mouth before driving out of Southgate Town. 5:30 a.m. The sky was still dark as Tan Xiao rushed to the vicinity of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. A wry smile appeared on the corner of his mouth when he saw the crowd outside the hospital's entrance. He found that even after a night had passed, there were still many patients and their families outside the hospital. It was conceivable that the number of people in the courtyard was even more. There are so many people, treating them like this won't work. Tan Xiao parked the car several hundred meters away from the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital's entrance. After getting off, he walked to a dark corner, lit a cigarette, and smoked a few puffs as he pondered in silence. Now, he already knew that an individual's strength was limited. For example, the number of patients coming from all over the country was too many. He couldn't split his body into 2, and he simply couldn't treat them all by himself. Do I need to find some helpers? The thought rose in Tan Xiao's mind and he immediately made up his mind. However, he didn't know many powerful Chinese medical practitioners in the spirit domain of Chinese medical practitioners. After carefully thinking about it, he remembered that Chu Guoxiong, the divine doctor's disciple whom he had met in Jingmen Island. Furthermore, he remembered that Li Hongji was Chu Guoxiong's senior brother. He immediately took out his mobile and contacted the sleeping Li Hongji. Dr. Tang, my junior brother is in Star City. A few days ago, he learned that you would come back from Shanghai and come to our Chinese medical hospital during the National Day holiday, so he wanted to visit you. But there were so many patients yesterday, so he didn't want to bother you. President Li, if it's convenient, can you tell Chu Guoxiong to come to Star City Chinese Medical Hospital this morning? Tan Xiao said. I want him to be my assistant. Li Hongji was surprised. You want my junior brother to be your assistant? No problem. I'll contact him immediately and tell him. Tell him to go to the Chinese medical hospital and wait for you. I've already arrived at the hospital, but I'm blocked outside the gate. Tan Xiao said with a smile. I'm going to jump over the wall and prepare to receive patients after calling you. You've arrived? Li Hongji was surprised. It was hard for him to imagine that Tan Xiao, who had been busy all day yesterday, would unexpectedly rush back to the Chinese medical hospital after resting for 5 or 6 hours. Such an attitude immediately made him feel deep veneration. Yeah, I've arrived, Tan Xiao said with a smile. Li Hongji pondered for a moment and then said, All right, I'll get up now. Let's go to the hospital and talk again. A few minutes later, Tan Xiu appeared at the entrance of the consultation building. He looked at the crowded scene and forced a wry smile on his face as he squeezed his way inside. Hey, what's the matter with you? Don't you know that there's a queue behind you? A middle-aged man turned his head and angrily glared at Tan Xiu as he shouted. Immediately, more than a dozen eyes in the surroundings shifted to Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu forced a smile and said, "If I line up, no one will consult and treat the patients. Everyone, please make way. I need to go to the consultation room." The middle-aged man angrily said, "What nonsense are you talking about, brat? Don't think that pretending to be a doctor will make us make way for you. Just go to the back and line up, else we'll make you look good." "I'm Tan Xiu." Tan Xiu frowned. The middle-aged man angrily said, "I don't care if you're Tang. No, you're Tang? Divine Dr. Tang?" "That's right. It's me," Tan Xiu said with all seriousness. "Get out of my way if you still want to see a doctor." Suddenly, a young man 7 or 8 meters away shouted, "It's really you, Divine Dr. Tang. I saw you yesterday, but I didn't expect you to come so early today. It's almost 2 hours before the hospital's doctors go to work." In a flash, the middle-aged man's expression drastically changed, and the anger on his face vanished in an instant. Instead, a look of fear and trepidation appeared on his face as he hurriedly explained, "I'm sorry, Divine Dr. Tang. I didn't know it was you. Please don't be angry. It's because of your superb medical skills and the fact that our family of 3 has been waiting since yesterday morning, so, no need to explain. I don't care about it." Tan Xiu waved his hand. "As long as you line up in an orderly manner, I'll consult and treat the patients to the best of my ability. All right, we can't waste any more time. Please make way." Along with the crowded queue in front of him, the aisle opened up and Tan Xiu smoothly came to the consultation room. Since the number was distributed yesterday, Tan Xiu simply tidied up the consultation room and began to consult the patients. 10 minutes later, at the entrance of the outpatient building, Tian Xiaoming, who came here for the interview and helped her mother line up, drowsily sat at the side with a tired face. "Ouch! Who stepped on me?" The pain from her foot immediately sobered Tian Xiaoming up, and she cried out in pain. She looked up and saw that the line was moving forward. "I'm sorry, young lady," a middle-aged man quickly said. Tian Xiaoming didn't pursue the matter of being stepped on by the middle-aged man. Instead, she quickly stood up and asked, "Uncle, it's only 6:30 p.m. How come the line is moving inside?" Chapter 490. After the crowded stream of people moved 5 or 6 meters forward, the middle-aged man smilingly said, "You were asleep just now, so you didn't see Divine Dr. Tang's arrival. The queue is moving forward because 7 or 8 patients have been treated by Divine Dr. Tang and left." "How is that possible?" Tian Xiaoming was surprised. "It's still so early, how come Divine Dr. Tang came? I heard that it was already early in the morning when he left last night." The middle-aged man sighed. "That's dedication and the benevolence of a divine doctor. Yesterday, Divine Dr. Tang had treated a total of 166 patients, and today he would treat another 166 patients. Whether it's the speed or the effect of the treatment, it's admirable." Tian Xiaoming didn't know what to say after hearing it. Nowadays, the doctor-patient relationship was very tense, and countless problems between doctors and patients were often exposed. She had been to hospitals many times and seen many doctors, but she never thought that she could meet such a good divine doctor in her life. "That's really admirable." Tian Xiaoming couldn't help but sigh. "Yeah, it's really admirable. What a great divine doctor. It would be great if there were more doctors like Divine Dr. Tang in the world. He only rested for 4 or 5 hours, and then rushed back to the hospital. What a rare and good doctor." The patients waiting in the queue around praised. Tian Xiaoming was the kind of girl who was good at observing and very smart. Looking at the expressions of the people around her, she could see respect, admiration, and a touch of emotion. "Excuse me." A loud voice sounded, causing many people to look at the back. When they saw the people coming, they couldn't help but make way. Tian Xiaoming looked at the two people and said in a low voice, I didn't expect that the president of the Chinese medical hospital would come so early. It should be because of Divine Dr. Tang. The middle-aged man nodded and said, Of course it is. Divine Dr. Tang will only be in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital for 3 days. The president of this hospital must serve Divine Dr. Tang well in these 3 days. How could it be so exaggerated, uncle? Tian Xiaoming said with a smile. The president was affected by Divine Dr. Tang and felt embarrassed to rest at home. So he came here early. Hee. In the consultation room, Tan Xiao had just watched the patient and his family leave when he saw Li Hongji come in with Chu Guoxiong. After not seeing him for several months, Chu Guoxiong had lost a lot of weight. As soon as he approached, he could smell the faint scent of medicinal herbs from his body. This meant that he had been dealing with medicinal herbs recently. Dr. Tang, I brought my younger brother here. Li Hongji said with a smile on his face. Tan Xiao stood up and looked at Chu Guoxiong saying, Chu Guoxiong, you haven't forgotten me, have you? Divine Dr. Tang, I can't forget you even if I forget who I am. Chu Guoxiong forced a wry smile. Back then on Jingmen Island, you taught me a lesson and let me know the true meaning of, you can't judge a book by its cover, and you can't measure the sea with a pail. I apologize for what happened before. Waving his hand, Tan Xiao smiled. Let bygones be bygones. As a TCM doctor, the most important thing is to be broad-minded and understand the principle of being virtuous. I believe President Li has already told you the reason why I asked you to come here, right? How was it? Would you like to help me here for 2 days? Helping you is not a problem, but I'm afraid that those patients won't buy it, said Chu Guoxiong. Many of them have come to Star City from thousands of miles away just to see you for treatment. As a matter of fact, it won't be a problem for you if it's not a particularly difficult disease, Tan Xiao said with a smile. Few of the patients who come here have those kinds of special and difficult diseases, so you can almost solve them. With the two of us working together, not only can we treat more patients, I can also relax a bit. Of course, if you encounter a case that you find difficult, I'll take over the diagnosis and treatment. Chu Guoxiong nodded and said, Then I'll respectfully accept. Tan Xiao looked at Li Hongji and said with a smile, President Li, I'll have to trouble you to add 2 more consultation tables. Also, help me arrange 2 assistants for them. Li Hongji stared blankly and asked with a confused expression, Why do you want to add 2 consultation tables? Who are they? As far as I know, there's an old Chinese medicine practitioner surnamed Hu in this Chinese medical hospital. His medical skills are very good, said Tan Xiao with a smile. Tell him to come and help me after he comes to work. If I encounter any difficult and complicated diseases during the diagnosis and treatment, I'll handle it myself. Li Hongji pondered for a moment before he nodded and said with a smile, No problem. I'll arrange it. However, since the 2 of them have joined, can you increase the number of patients you'll be treating today? No need to increase it too much. Just 100 people. Tan Xiao nodded. No problem. Li Hongji was delighted and said with a smile. The queue is very long now, let alone adding 100 people. Even if you add 500 people, I'm afraid there will still be some left. After a while, Li Hongji left the consultation room. Tan Xiao called Chu Guoxiong to wait at the side, and then continued to consult the patients behind. Divine Dr. Tang, you must save my daughter. Gong Likun let an 8 or 9-year-old girl sit on the chair in front of the consultation table. She then looked at Tan Xiao with a pleading expression. Tan Xiao motioned the girl to stretch out her wrist. While checking her pulse, he asked, Did you bring her medical records? What disease did she have before? Leukemia. Gong Likun put a medical record in front of Tan Xiao. She was 40 years old this year. Because her husband met with a car accident, he left her as an orphan and widowed mother. Originally, she was the human resources manager of a foreign company. Her salary and treatment were very good, and the life of the mother and daughter was very comfortable. But half a year ago, her daughter was diagnosed with leukemia. She had no choice but to quit her job and took her daughter to seek medical treatment in several large hospitals in the imperial capital, Shanghai, and other places. However, Leukemia was a disease that was too difficult to be cured completely. Just as she was about to take her daughter abroad to seek medical treatment, she heard that a divine doctor had appeared in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. She immediately rushed over with her daughter full of hope. She had been waiting in Star City with her daughter for more than a week. Tan Xiao slightly frowned with a bit of helplessness in his eyes. Although he was honored as a divine doctor, not all diseases could be treated. For example, he might be able to cure some of the medical problems that the entire medical community had yet to overcome. But if the news of him being able to cure those cases were to be publicized, it would probably lead to great troubles. At the side, Chu Guoxiong revealed a strange expression. He had never thought that the first disease that Tan Xiao was going to treat would be the thorny septicemia. Although his master was a divine doctor, and his medical skills were extraordinary, it was extremely difficult to completely cure leukemia. Tan Xiao checked the girl's pulse and used his spiritual sense to observe the condition of her body. What made him helpless was that the girl's condition was very serious. Leukemia, also known as leukemia, was a type of hematopoietic stem cell malignant cloning disease. Because of the loss of proliferation, differentiation disorder, and blocked apoptosis, the cloning leukemia cells proliferated and accumulated in the bone marrow and other hematopoietic tissues. The disease infiltrated other hematopoietic tissues and organs, and at the same time, inhibited the normal hematopoietic function. Tan Xiao stood up and walked to the girl's side. He bent down and gently touched her lymph nodes. He found that the lymph nodes were swollen, and the girl showed a painful expression when he touched them. "What's your name?" Tan Xiao looked at Gong Likun and asked. Gong Likun told her name to Tan Xiao. "Ms. Gong, your daughter's condition is very serious. I'm afraid she can only live for half a year at most," said Tan Xiao. "Even if we use ordinary drugs to suppress it, the effect won't be very big. However, I'll prescribe a Chinese medicine for you. Take your daughter to get the medicine and boil it before taking it." Gong Likun's expectant expression gradually disappeared, and was replaced by grief and unwillingness. After being silent for more than 10 seconds, she asked with a somewhat hoarse voice, "Is there really no other way, Divine Dr. Tang?" "There is," answered Tan Xiao. "What is it?" Gong Likun's eyes lit up and hurriedly asked. "It's not the right time to talk about it now," said Tan Xiao. "Take your daughter to get the medicine according to my prescription. I'll go to the inpatient department to find you tonight. We'll talk about it in detail at that time." "I'll give you my cell number," said Gong Likun hurriedly. "My daughter is staying in Ward 9015A area. We'll be waiting for you." Tan Xiao sat back on the chair. He wrote a prescription and handed it to Gong Likun, saying, "Take this medicine every morning and night for half a month." "All right." Gong Likun quickly complied. A strange expression flashed in Chu Guoxiong's eyes as he stood at the side. He asked in a low voice, "Divine Dr. Tang, can you really cure septicemia?" "I'm not sure, but I can give it a try," said Tan Xiao. Chu Guoxiong nodded. Although he admired Tan Xiao's courage, he wasn't optimistic that Tan Xiao could really cure the septicemia patient. It must be noted that his master, Gue Jianqiu, could cure the early stage of septicemia. But when the disease had reached the middle and late stage, even his master's superb medical skills couldn't completely cure it. At most, he could only guarantee that the patient wouldn't relapse in a short time after the treatment. Next, Tan Xiao treated more than a dozen patients. Chu Guoxiong had been standing beside Tan Xiao, observing Tan Xiao's consultation and treatment methods. What shocked him was that Tan Xiao's treatment methods were very strange. It was something he had never seen or heard of before. However, Tan Xiao's treatment speed and the effect of the treatment made him sincerely convinced. Worship gradually appeared in his eyes. At 8 a.m., when the old Chinese doctor surnamed who arrived at Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, he and Chu Guoxiong also joined the consultation and treatment. Although the two of them couldn't accept Tan Xiao's treatment methods, they were, after all, genuine talents and excellent medical skills. After their diagnosis and treatment, many patients were satisfied. However, many of the patients who came to Star City Chinese Medical Hospital for treatment were patients with incurable diseases. Therefore, the two of them encountered a lot of troublesome cases, which were eventually solved by Tan Xiao. Chapter 491. Lunchtime. Tan Xiu left the consultation room and was ready to go outside to take a breath of fresh air. He also wanted to go to the cafeteria to have something to eat. But just as he came out of the consultation room, his complexion changed. Not only were there 2 security guards of the Chinese medical hospital at the door, but there were also 4 policemen in police uniforms who were maintaining order in the corridor. Is there a need to be so exaggerated? Tan Xiu turned his head and glanced at Dai Xinyue, who followed him out. He raised his hand to touch his nose and forced a smile. Master, there was actually a special situation this morning. The president and chief Deng of the City Public Security Bureau had no choice but to arrange it like this, said Dai Xinyue. Special situation? Tan Xiu was surprised. What special situation? Dai Xinyue forced a smile and said, a lot of media reporters came to our hospital this morning. Even the people from the city TV station and the provincial TV station came. As far as I know, there were dozens of media reporters who wanted to interview you, but they were blocked by the security guards and the police when they squeezed inside, resulting in a conflict between the 2 sides. After President Li learned about it, he and Chief Deng personally drove all those media reporters out of the hospital and issued a death order to never let them step into the hospital. Media reporters? Tan Xiu frowned and asked. Do they have nothing better to do? Why do they need to interview and report this kind of thing? You don't know, Master, but you're very famous now, said Dai Xinyue. I heard that an anchor from a live broadcast platform came to our hospital. She directly reported the scene of you and the huge crowd at our Chinese medical hospital in her live broadcast room. Therefore, all the major media networks have received this news since yesterday. Even many forums, Tieba, and even online communication channels, such as WeChat and Q platform, also have screenshots of the video. In short, you're now hot and in the headlines. Is what you said true or false, Xinyue? Tan Xiu hurriedly said. I hate being exposed the most. If it's true, I'm afraid I'll be the center of attention wherever I go in the future. Dai Xinyue raised her hand and stretched out her fingers, saying, Master, I swear that everything I said is true. If you don't believe me, you can use your mobile phone to check it out. Many news browsers have news about you, the great divine doctor. Tan Xiu quickly grabbed his phone and checked it. Apart from a bitter smile, there was no other expression on his face. Never in his wildest dreams did he imagine that things would develop to this point. Suddenly, his expression slightly changed and he quickly said, Xinyue, go to the cafeteria to eat first. I need to make a phone call. I'll go find you later. Dai Xinyue nodded and said, I'll help you get the food, Master. Half a minute later, Tan Xiu walked out of the passageway and found a secluded corner to call Elder Tang. Xiu, why did you call me? When Tang Guosheng received Tan Xiu's call, he sounded very happy. Tan Xiu said, something unexpected happened. I've been giving medical services in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital for the past 2 days, but someone reported it. Because there were a lot of people coming to see the doctor, it made a lot of headlines. If my identity is exposed, I'm afraid the Yao family will also get the news. By that time, they should be able to guess that it won't be a problem for me to cure your asthma with my medical skills. Also, my father's recovery from a vegetative state should be my masterpiece. Tang Guosheng was silent for a moment and slowly said, You're worthy to be my grandson. You're meticulous and reliable. In fact, before you called me, I already got the news that you were giving medical services in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. However, I didn't think about this aspect. It seems that the news of my recovery can no longer be concealed. Then, what do you plan to do? Asked Tan Xiu. Then, I'll change our strategy. Our Tang family has been developing in secret. But since it doesn't work now, I'll announce that I'm cured and develop the Tang family openly. Our family has been constantly suppressed for the past 20 years. Many people have been eyeing us, waiting for me to die so that they can move against us. Now it's time to give them some deterrence. If we go from behind the scenes to the front, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for our Tang family to develop, said Tan Xiu. Those hostile forces will never sit still and watch our family develop. Tang Guosheng was silent for a moment and slowly said, Xiu, I want to ask you something. Speak, said Tan Xiu. Tang Guoxing asked. If I transfer a large sum of money to you now, can you cultivate a powerful force without anyone noticing? I need to know the specific amount, said Tan Xiao. Tang Guoxing pondered for a moment and said, 50 billion. Our Tang family can transfer these funds without attracting the attention of others. But if it's more, I'm afraid it'll be difficult. For years, Tang Xiao said, I can use this money to cultivate a group of outstanding talents within 4 years, as well as a group of experts with strong martial strength. I can even use this money to make more money, at least twice of this amount. All right. Come back in a few days and we'll meet and talk, said Tang Guoxing aloud. I'm going to the imperial capital on the 5th. Tan Xiao replied. He hung up the phone. An excited look appeared in Tan Xiao's eyes. Although he was not short of money at the moment, it would be enough for him to do a lot of things if he could get 50 billion in a short time. He had no other skills, but he was very good at making money. Furthermore, cultivating talents also required a lot of funds. If he were to go all out and do something big, funds would be the most basic problem. After smoking a cigarette, Tan Xiao came to the cafeteria. Hello, Divine Dr. Tang. Divine Dr. Tang, you're here for dinner. You're really dedicated to your work, Divine Dr. Tang. I didn't see you come for dinner yesterday. Thank you for your hard work, Divine Dr. Tang. As he came to the cafeteria, many doctors greeted Tan Xiao. Although Tan Xiao didn't know these people, he knew that one shouldn't slap a smiling face. Tan Xiao still responded to them one by one, and came to the corner where Dai Xinyue was sitting amidst the greetings. Master, I've prepared the food for you. President Li originally wanted to give you special treatment, but I know your character, so I didn't agree to it. You won't blame me, will you? Dai Xinyue stood up and smilingly said, It doesn't matter what I eat. Tan Xiao waved his hand. At this time, a figure appeared next to Tan Xiao. Sun Wenjing, who was carrying a plate, sat down next to Dai Xinyue and smilingly said, Hello, Divine Dr. Tang. Tan Xiao looked up and smilingly said after seeing her, Hello, Divine Dr. Tang. How's your mother's health now? My mother's health is very good now. I have to thank you, Divine Dr. Tang, said Sun Wenjing gratefully. Without you, I'm afraid. Tan Xiao shook his head and said, It's a doctor's duty to heal the wounded and rescue the dying. I may not be a pure doctor, but since I've promised President Li to come to the Chinese medical hospital, I must do what I should do. Sun Wenjing nodded and looked at Dai Xinyue with a bit of envy. Then she said to Tan Xiao, Divine Dr. Tang, my mother has been talking about you all day long. I hope you can come to my house when you have time. Let's talk about it later. Tan Xiao let out a faint smile and began to eat. After eating, just as Tan Xiao returned to the consultation room, the scene inside made him slightly surprised. The originally spacious space inside had been moved to a table with a large number of silk banners placed on it. From a visual estimation, there should be more than 200 banners. These are sent to you by the patients, Divine Dr. Tang. My senior brother told me to put these banners here, said Chu Guoxiong with a smile. President Li really doesn't understand me. Tan Xiao couldn't help laughing. It's meaningless to put these banners here. As for those patients, many of them came from poor families. Even making a silk banner would be a burden to them. Forget it. I remember that the hospital has set up a fund to give some help to those poor patients. I'll donate 1 million later, and let the hospital arrange it to help those patients with financial difficulties. Chu Guoxiong raised his thumbs up and praised. You have a compassionate heart and magical medical skills, Divine Dr. Tang. I feel that your appearance will be a blessing to countless families. I'll also donate 1 million to show my sincerity. Divine Dr. Tang's disciple really has a good heart, said Tan Xiao with a smile. My master's motto is to be virtuous. Chu Guoxiong smiled. It's our duty as doctors to help those patients. In the past, I would have cared about those false reputations, but ever since I got to know you and was reprimanded by my master, I finally realized that a doctor must not only have great medical skills, but also have the most important medical ethics. A smile outlined on the corner of Tan Xiao's mouth as he said, Now that I hear it, I have a bit of respect for your master, Gui Jianqiu. I'll pay him a visit if I have the chance later. I believe my master will be very happy to see you, said Chu Guoxiong quickly. While the two of them were talking in the consultation room, they didn't notice that Tian Xiaoming was leaning on the door outside the consultation room. The mobile camera in her hand was aimed at them. Every word and action of the two was broadcasted by the live broadcast she had turned on. At this time, her live broadcast room was also in an uproar. Countless of her fans were moved and constantly praised the two of them. Many of them even spent a lot of money on gifts. In just a few minutes, the total number of gifts Tian Xiaoming received had exceeded the number of gifts she received yesterday. I'll donate all the gifts I received today to the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital's fund. I hope that it can help more patients with financial difficulties. Tian Xiaoming quickly retreated 2 steps back. After the camera was aimed at her, she spoke in a very low voice. Her speech immediately received a lot of praise. Some fans even took a few minutes of the video and quickly reposted it with praising comments. Those fans didn't expect that the video they took would cause such a big sensation in the country, and even the world. All the debts have been paid off. I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. In fact, Jingye's mood was very low after her grandmother passed away. She didn't want to write anything. She didn't even want to move. But she had to continue living her life, so she could only force herself to keep herself updated. Jingyi felt bitter inside, but she didn't say it. Starting from today, every time her monthly votes advance, Jingyi will update a chapter. She's currently ranked 88th on the monthly votes list. Chapter 492. The conversation between Tan Xiu and Chu Guoxiong, as well as the video in which Tian Xiaoming added that sentence, were screenshotted and reposted. Very soon, they appeared on the headlines of major media outlets. The number of clicks and reposts increased at an alarming rate. Tan Xiu was furious. Chu Guoxiong also became popular. Even Tian Xiaoming, a small-time streamer, became popular. This level of popularity was not something that those powerful internet celebrities could compare to. The overwhelming reports and countless people's praises appeared in the comments section of various media outlets, and in the chat boxes of various dating apps as if they were free. There were also countless patients and their family members who were somewhat skeptical and somewhat expectant, as they began to prepare their luggage to go to the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital to see a doctor. Meanwhile, a large number of compassionate people and organizations from all over the country contacted Star City Chinese Medical Hospital and prepared to donate money to the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital's foundation. Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. In the bright and spacious dean's office, Li Hongji comfortably held a cup of hot tea in his hands, smelling the fragrance of the tea. In the past 2 days, the reputation of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital had been constantly rising, which made him very excited. Although he was about to reach the age of retirement, he had worked in the hospital for so many years, so he had a lot of faith as the director. Bang! The door of the office was pushed open. Chen Xinlin, the vice dean, rushed in and said with a smile, "Dean, something big has happened." Li Hongji frowned slightly. If it was in the past and Chen Xinlin dared to barge in without knocking, he would have reprimanded him. But now he was in a good mood, and after hearing Chen Xinlin's words, he directly ignored the other's attitude. He straightened his back and asked, "What's the matter?" Chen Xinlin said, "In just over half an hour I've received dozens of calls. Many enthusiastic people from the outside hope to donate to the fund established by our hospital. Do you know how many donations we've received after I announced the public account of our Chinese Medical Hospital's fund?" Li Hongji was stunned and asked incredulously, "Donation? Why would they donate money? And you said, how much did you receive?" Chen Xinlin said, "President, our fund has received more than 298,000 yuan in donations. This is the data I calculated before I came to your office. There were a total of 407 remittances. The remitters came from all over the country. In addition, among the calls I received, there are 6 companies and 2 charities that are also preparing to transfer money to us. As for why, you'll understand if you look at the headlines on the internet." Although Li Hongji was shocked to receive 407 remittances within half an hour, he still quickly turned on his phone and browsed through some websites. His old face showed a look of disbelief. This video? Chen Xinlin heavily nodded and excitedly said, yes, it's because of this video. It said that a certain streamer secretly came to our Star City Chinese Medical Hospital and secretly took this picture in front of Divine Dr. Tang's consultation room. The conversation between Divine Dr. Tang and Dr. Chu Guoxiong had caused a huge sensation. Just take a look and you'll see the number of shares and comments. It's unbelievable. Li Hongji searched and watched for more than 10 minutes, and he could no longer sit still. His heart was filled with excitement, because he knew very well what the emergence of this video meant to Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. It meant that the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital would become a household name in the country. A hospital. What was the most important thing? Wasn't it fame? Only when the hospital had fame would it be recognized by the people, and a large number of patients would come to seek medical treatment. As the president of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, it would be a supreme honor for the hospital under his jurisdiction to have such a great reputation. Great! Great! That's great! With an excited expression on his face, Li Hongji clenched his fists and fiercely waved them. Chen Xinlin smiled and asked, President, judging from the current trend, our hospital will receive a large amount of donations. What should we do next? Do we still announce the amount of donations and carry out the poverty relief openly and transparently like before? The smile on Li Hongji's face gradually disappeared. As the saying goes, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Since Star City Chinese Medical Hospital had received so many donations from enthusiastic people, then he must use every penny to the best use. Little Chen, you've been in charge of our hospital's financial affairs, so I trust you in this regard. Therefore, every penny of our hospital's fund must be made public. Even the flow of each fund must be open and transparent. Let me tell you, don't blame me for being ruthless if there's any problem with the fund. After all, it's related to the reputation of our Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Chen Xinlin solemnly nodded and said, President, I know what's more important. Li Hongji nodded and said, all right, go find a few computer experts and open a special fund column on the official website of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. The daily changes of the fund must be updated in a timely manner. Every donor's name and phone number must be published as much as possible. If it's an anonymous donation, it must also be shown in the updated form. Set up a column for the flow of funds, and the usage of each fund must be updated in a timely manner, so that you can transfer a few backbones from the finance department to seriously and responsibly manage the fund column every day. Chen Xinlin hesitated and said, President, isn't this? Li Hongji shook his head and said, I understand what you mean. You want to say that it's making a fuss out of nothing, right? I can tell you that it's absolutely not making a fuss out of nothing. As a matter of fact, I've thought about setting up a fund to help the people who come to our hospital for medical treatment, but have very poor family conditions. However, our Star City Chinese Medical Hospital didn't have any money before, and secondly, we didn't have any fame, so I could only suppress this idea in my heart. But now it's different. Our hospital now has money and fame. If we do well in the future, I believe there will be a steady stream of donations coming to our account. We can use the money from the fund to help a lot of families with financial difficulties in the future. Chen Xinlin nodded and said, President, since you've instructed me, then I'll do it. I'll make this special column on the official website of our Star City Chinese Medical Hospital in a week at most. I'll let the whole country, and even the whole world know the situation of our fund. Li Hongji nodded heavily. Remember, I'm giving you the authority. Whoever dares to touch the fund, chop them off. I'll bear all the consequences. All right. Chen Xinlin's eyes lit up as he immediately turned around and left. Li Hongji sat back on his chair and clicked on the video again. He watched the conversation between Tan Xiao and his junior brother, Chu Guoxiong, as a warm feeling surged inside his heart. He was very grateful to Tan Xiao. Ever since he met Tan Xiao, Li Hongji could feel that Tan Xiao had a pure heart even though the latter didn't want to develop too much in the medical field. He had never seen such a young man in his life. At the Chinese Medical Hospital's consultation room, Tan Xiao, Chu Guoxiong, an old Chinese medical doctor who were constantly diagnosing and treating the patients. With the three of them working together, the diagnosis and treatment speed was very fast. It was nearly noon. As a middle-aged woman entered the room, Tian Xiaoming, who was like a primary school student who had made a mistake, suddenly had her eyes lit up and quickly said, "You're finally here, Mom. Let me introduce you. This is Divine Dr. Tang." Zhao Qin gently nodded and looked at Tan Xiao saying, "I know. I've seen Divine Dr. Tang's video. You did the right thing, Xiaoming. A good person like Divine Dr. Tang must be publicized more and spread his positive energy, so that more people know about him." A proud expression immediately appeared on Tian Xiaoming's face upon hearing it. Tan Xiao could only force a wry smile inwardly. After he learned that Tian Xiaoming was the online streamer, he didn't give her a good face. Especially when he learned that she didn't line up at all, but came to the consultation room ahead of time. He even reprimanded her, and made her stand obediently at the side as punishment. But now, in front of Tian Xiaoming's mother, he couldn't lash out despite feeling very depressed inside. "Have a seat," said Tan Xiao. After Zhao Qin took a seat in front of the consultation table, she then said, "Divine Dr. Tang, my Xiaoming didn't line up according to the number. Please don't be angry. This child has always been kind-hearted since she was a child. She wants to publicize your deeds and let more patients know that there's a divine doctor like you in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. She wants to pass on this gospel to everyone. She hopes that you can forgive her if what she has done has troubled you." "It's all right. Since she has done it, then so be it," Tan Xiao said. "Besides, I'll only stay in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital for 3 days. Tian Xiaoming, you're not allowed to take out your mobile for a live broadcast anymore." Tian Xiaoming's expression turned blank. She immediately let out an embarrassed smile, and stuffed her mobile back. Furthermore, she said with an awkward smile, "Please don't take it to heart, Divine Dr. Tang. It's just an occupational disease. Since you don't allow me to do a live broadcast, I'll never go against your wishes." Tan Xiao nodded in satisfaction. He then looked at Zhao Qin and asked, "Big sis, what's the situation with your body? Have you had a checkup before?" "I did have a checkup before, but I didn't get any results." Zhao Qin nodded. "I just feel that my chest is always aching. It seems to be my heart, but it doesn't seem to be." Tan Xiao began to check Zhao Qin's pulse and asked, "What kind of checkup did you do?" "I did an electrocardiogram and ultrasound. I even checked my blood routine. All of them are normal," said Zhao Qin. "But my chest is always aching from time to time." "That's right, especially when I sleep on my side. Once my heart is squeezed, it will be very painful." Tan Xiao calmly felt Zhao Qin's pulse and found that her body was somewhat lacking in qi and blood. Subsequently, he used his spiritual sense to observe the condition of her body, and finally got the result. She's now ranked 87th in the monthly votes, moving up 1 rank. Today, I'll add a chapter for a total of 3 chapters. Brothers and sisters, continue to work hard. Quiet Night will decide to add chapters based on the monthly votes ranking every morning. Chapter 493. The pain caused by the nerves is easy to solve. However, your qi and blood are somewhat insufficient, and you also have some gynecological diseases. You need to drink some Chinese medicine to recuperate. Come with me to the bed over there. I'll give you acupuncture, and you'll be able to cure the neuralgia." Zhao Qin's eyes lit up and she immediately said excitedly, "Great, great. Thank you, Divine Dr. Tang. You're really amazing." Tan Xiao let out a faint smile. After treating Zhao Qin with acupuncture, he wrote a prescription for her. Then he looked at Tian Xiaoming and said, "Young lady, if you want to do a live broadcast in the future, remember to tell them clearly in advance if it involves other people's privacy. Respect their wishes. Else, your personal behavior will only bring trouble to others." Tian Xiaoming stuck out her tongue and gently nodded. "I'm really sorry, Divine Dr. Tang. I did a bad thing out of kindness, and I hope you can forgive me. You can rest assured that I'll definitely correct myself in the future. I'll ask the other party before the live broadcast, and I'll never expose other people's privacy without their consent." Seeing that her attitude was good, Tanshio nodded and said, "All right, accompany your mother to get the prescription. Remember to let her take it once a day and once a day." "All right." Tian Xiaoming nodded obediently. At the next consultation table, Chu Guoxiong's eyes retracted from the back of Zhao Qin and her daughter, and took advantage of the time to ask, "Divine Dr. Tang, how did you diagnose that the patient's chest pain was caused by the nerves in her body?" "I have my own way, you can't learn it," said Tanshio. Chu Guoxiong stared blankly for a moment, and then forced a wry smile, not knowing what to say. Diagnosis and treatment. Time fleeted by and night fell. All the patients who got the number today had been treated. However, the number of patients didn't decrease, but increased instead. "Dr. Chu, Dr. Hu, go back and rest. I need to go to the inpatient department. See you tomorrow," said Tanshio with a smile. After all, Dr. Hu was old. After working in the consultation room for a day, he was already exhausted, so he nodded and said goodbye before leaving. Chu Guoxiong didn't leave, but looked at Tanshio and said, "I'll go with you to the inpatient department. You've been busy all day, aren't you tired?" Tanshio was surprised. "I'm very tired, but I want to see how you treat the patients with sepsis." Chu Guoxiong said seriously, "You should know that the condition of the patient with septicemia today is very serious. Even if my master takes action, the probability of him being able to cure her is not more than 30%. You won't be able to learn my treatment method," said Tanshio with a smile. Chu Guoxiong turned and glanced at Dai Xinyue and asked, "Can she learn it?" "She won't be able to learn it now. But it doesn't matter. Her foundation in traditional Chinese medicine is too poor. She still needs a long time to learn basic knowledge. In the future, when she has enough Chinese medicine skills, I will naturally teach her those special treatment methods. It's a pity that you've already taken me as your master. Otherwise, I could teach you." An envious look flashed in Chu Guoxiong's eyes. Tanshio's miraculous treatment method was an eye-opener for him. Even though he only spent a day with Tanshio, he had a lot of comprehension and progress in Chinese medicine. "I firmly believe that my master is not worse than you, even if you're very strong," said Chu Guoxiong with a serious face as he clenched his fists. "No one is better than anyone else in the field of Chinese medicine," said Tanshio with a smile. "The knowledge of Chinese medicine is broad and profound. The more you learn, the more you'll find yourself lacking. Although the development of the medical field is getting faster and faster, the number of strange cases is also increasing. Therefore, persevering in research and constantly improving the medical level is what every doctor should do. As for me, I don't have much time to study medicine in the future, so I'll have to rely on you to save people from suffering." "I really don't understand you, Divine Dr. Tang." Chu Guoxiong forced a smile. "With your attainments in Chinese medicine, you can definitely stand at the pinnacle of the medical field as long as you're willing. You'll definitely gain both fame and fortune in the future." "Why? Everyone's pursuit is different," said Tanshio with a faint smile. "Then your pursuit is?" asked Chu Guoxiong curiously. "You won't understand my pursuit even if I tell you," said Tanshio with a faint smile. "Let's go. Let's not waste time since you're going to the inpatient department with me. The earlier we finish treating the patient, the earlier we can go back and rest." At the inpatient department, after Tanshio, Chu Guoxiong, and Dai Xinyue arrived, they directly went to the VIP ward arranged by the hospital. There was only one bed in the entire ward, and Gong Likun's daughter was sitting on the bedside drowsily. "Divine Dr. Tang." Upon seeing Tanshio's arrival, Gong Likun hurriedly got up and called out, "Have you taken the Chinese medicine I prescribed tonight?" asked Tanshio with a faint smile. A happy expression immediately appeared on Gong Likun's face as she replied, "Yes, she has. Besides, Bebe said that she felt warm and comfortable after taking the medicine. I can see that her mental state is much better than before." Tanshio nodded and walked to the bed. He lifted the bedding and said, "Untie her clothes. I need to give her acupuncture treatment. Xinyue, take out the alcohol, cotton, and silver needles from the medicine box. Also, ask the nurse to prepare a basin of hot water. Remember, it must be boiled hot water." Dai Xinyue quickly complied. After taking out the alcohol cotton and silver needles, she immediately ran outside. 2 minutes later she came back and said, "There's no boiled hot water now, master. But I've asked the nurse to boil it. It'll be done in 10 minutes. Tanxiu nodded. After disinfecting the silver needles with the alcohol cotton, he used it to gently wipe the little girl's body, especially several important acupoints that needed acupuncture treatment. After repeatedly wiping, he was about to start the acupuncture treatment when his mobile suddenly rang. Tanxiu slightly furrowed his brows. He took out his mobile and glanced at it. It was an unfamiliar number. He originally intended to ignore it, but after thinking about it, he decided to pick it up. "I'm Tanxiu. Who is this?" A middle-aged man's voice came from the phone. "Hello, Divine Dr. Tang. I'm Yang Ming. We've met in Shanghai's Paradise Manor before." "I know. Why didn't you come?" Tanxiu said. "Divine Dr. Tang, our family of 3 actually came here yesterday, but we've been waiting in line, yet it's not our turn yet," said Yang Ming with a forced smile. "I had no choice but to find President Li of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital and get your cell number from him." "Where are you now?" asked Tanxiu. "I'm still waiting in line outside. My wife and son are in the inpatient department ward," said Yang Ming quickly. "You don't need to wait in line. Go back to your ward and wait," said Tanxiu. "I'll treat the other patients first and then go there later." "That's right. Tell me your ward number." "It's ward VIP 024, said Yang Ming quickly. Tanxiu stared blankly for a moment before he immediately nodded and said, "I see. I'll be there later." After hanging up the phone, he began to perform acupuncture on the little girl. His acupuncture technique was very strange, which secretly amazed Chu Guoxiong, the disciple of the divine doctor. As dozens of silver needles were inserted into the acupoints, Tanxiu quietly transferred his star force into the girl's body. As a matter of fact, septicemia was a condition in which white blood cells increased and red blood cells decreased, which was similar to a martial artist being poisoned. Therefore, he stimulated the little girl's potential while helping her extract the white blood cells with his star force. 3 minutes passed. Tanxiu picked up another silver needle and pierced 6 small holes around each acupuncture point. The needle rose and fell, and blood came out of those small holes. Combing and washing. Tanxiu controlled his star force to move inside the girl's body. It was like a net made of star force, constantly driving out the white blood cells and flowing out from the small holes near the acupuncture points. "Divine Dr. Tang, this?" Gong Likun's expression greatly changed. She looked at the acupuncture points on her daughter's body, where blood gathered and eventually slid down. Her heart instantly jumped to her throat. Tanxiu shook his head. After disinfecting the silver needle, he put it back in the needle box. His right thumb began to press some of the girl's blood vessels, gently pressing and moving. Wherever the acupuncture points passed through, the amount of blood coming out of the surrounding holes would increase. "Uncle, it's so itchy." The little girl was very obedient at first and remained motionless. But along with the movement of Tanxiu's fingers, her thin body began to twist. However, her originally pale face had become a little rosy. "Just bear with it. It'll be fine after a while," said Tanxiu. Time fleeted by. Finally, after 20 minutes, the small holes around the acupuncture points no longer bled. At this moment, Tanxiu quickly pulled out dozens of silver needles on the girl's body, and then began to wipe the blood flowing out of her body with a towel. "How is it, Divine Dr. Tang?" Gong Likun was the most concerned about the girl's physical condition, and hurriedly asked. "I'll continue the acupuncture treatment tomorrow night," said Tanxiu. "However, I've already removed 30 to 40% of the white blood cells in her body, so it should be completely removed tomorrow." Gong Likun's eyes lit up and she excitedly asked, "Is that true, Divine Dr. Tang? My daughter, has 30 to 40% of the white blood cells in her body been removed?" "That's right," said Tanxiu. At the side, Chu Guoxiong slightly furrowed his brows and said, "Divine Dr. Tang, I don't know how you removed the white blood cells, but there's something I'm very confused about. Why didn't you work harder to remove more white blood cells? At least 70 to 80%? It's normal for the human body to have white blood cells," said Tanxiu with a strange expression. She would have died if I had removed 70 to 80% of the white blood cells. The white blood cells I've removed are the substances that are very easy to evolve and spread. According to the white blood cells in her body, I've already removed 80 to 90% of them. This? Chu Guoxiong was shocked and incredulously looked at Tan Xiao. His mouth squirmed a few times, but no words came out. Chapter 494. Chu Guoxiong was shocked and horrified. He was keenly aware that Tan Xiao seemed to know the condition of the patient's body very well. He could even know the number of white blood cells removed from the patient's body without any instrument to check. What was most inconceivable to him was that not only did Tan Xiao know the number of white blood cells removed, but he could also distinguish between normal white blood cells and those that were easy to evolve and spread. This ability. He's also terrifying, isn't he? Dai Xinyue's beautiful face, on the other hand, had a look of intense worship on it in addition to shock. Septicemia was a very difficult problem to overcome in the entire medical field, yet her master could easily treat it. This was definitely an existence more powerful than a divine doctor. It must be known that, if those so-called divine doctors could completely cure septicemia, the news would have spread out long ago. Even the disciple of this divine doctor was shocked. This showed that even his master, the great divine Dr. Gue Jianqiu, would find it difficult to do so. Dai Xinyue recalled what her master just said. He said that she must first increase her knowledge of Chinese medicine, so that she would be taught a special treatment method later. She was so happy that she almost cried. Tan Xiao ignored Chu Guoxiong and Dai Xinyue's thoughts. After wiping all the bloodstains on the little girl's body, he looked at Gong Likun and said, "Help her change into clean clothes and let her have a good rest. Also, remember to give her Chinese medicine tomorrow morning, and then give her some liquid food to nourish her body." Gong Likun nodded excitedly and said, "I'll do as you say, Divine Dr. Tang." Tan Xiao let out a faint smile and packed up the medicine box. He then turned around and said, "I'm going to treat the patient next door, so I'll take my leave first. See you tomorrow night." "All right. Thank you, Divine Dr. Tang," said Gong Likun gratefully. After leaving the ward, the shock on Chu Guoxiong's face finally disappeared and he curiously asked, "Divine Dr. Tang, are you going to the next ward to treat the patient? What disease does she have?" "Congenital heart disease," answered Tan Xiao. Chu Guoxiong's footsteps came to a halt as he looked at Tan Xiao in disbelief. He gulped down a mouthful of saliva and quickly caught up with him. As he entered the next ward, he hurriedly asked, "Divine Dr. Tang, can the congenital heart disease treatment you mentioned be completely cured?" Tan Xiao smiled and said, "If it was treating leukemia, I wasn't 100% confident. But now, I'm 100% confident in treating congenital heart disease." Chu Guoxiong's heartbeat increased exponentially. At this moment, the way he looked at Tan Xiao had already turned into a celestial being. One should know that treating congenital heart disease was a very troublesome matter. Although there were many cases that could be cured, it was all because the patient's condition was not serious. However, a congenital heart disease that could seek treatment from Tan Xiao was probably very difficult to treat. This kind of thorny congenital heart disease was probably something that many large hospitals and famous cardiologists and professors were helpless about. "What type is Divine Dr. Tang?" Chu Guoxiong hesitated for a moment before asking. "Insufficient blood supply, perforation of the internal organs, and the most important thing is that the heart is small and difficult to develop," said Tan Xiao. "It's not life-threatening for the time being, but if it's delayed, even if Hua Tua and Bien Ke are reborn in the future, they won't be able to reverse the situation." Hiss! Chu Guoxiong sucked in a cold breath after hearing it. He had encountered this kind of situation before, and it was more than once or twice. If it was a simple case of insufficient blood supply and perforation of the internal organs, it could be treated. Some patients with congenital heart disease could gradually recover after the later treatment, but the heart was small and difficult to develop. This was closely related to the patient's constitution, so it was very difficult to treat it. Inside the ward, Li Yunyang and Gu Hui had been waiting eagerly. Upon seeing Tan Xiu's arrival, Li Yunyang immediately looked grateful and greeted him with an excited face. Divine Dr. Tang, I finally see you again. Thank you for coming to treat my son so late. Thank you. I've been giving medical services in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital recently. Treating patients and saving people is my job, so you don't need to be so polite, said Tan Xiu. Have you done the things I asked you to do before? I've done it. I've met the families of the deceased and compensated them with a large sum of money, said Li Yunyang without hesitation. Also, I've donated a lot of money. I'm ready to wait for my son to gradually recover after your treatment. Then, I'll make a detailed investigation to see what kind of charity work I want to do. But what? Tan Xiu raised his brows and asked. I don't think I need to investigate anymore, said Li Yunyang. Today, I've decided to donate most of my family property to the Star City Chinese Medical Hospitals Foundation. Also, I'll take out a large sum of money to donate to the impoverished areas to help build schools for the children there, and provide them with a good learning environment. That's right. Tang Xiu nodded and said, I believe that your good deeds will be rewarded. After saying that, he put the medicine box next to the bed, took out a silver needle from it and said, Untie his clothes. I need to perform acupuncture on him. Also, nobody is allowed to disturb me while I'm performing acupuncture treatment. All right. Li Yunyang quickly complied and worked together with his wife, Gu Hui. After taking off Wei Dongdong's clothes, they made him lie on the bed according to Tan Xiu's instructions. Puff! The silver needle entered his body. Tan Xiu quickly controlled his star force and injected it into Wei Dongdong's body. Gradually, it wrapped his heart. Tan Xiu's body had a huge vitality. The reason why he was 100% sure that he could cure Wei Dongdong was that the vitality had a magical curative effect on Wei Dongdong's heart. Even the star force in his body contained a huge life essence. Using it to nourish Wei Dongdong's heart would definitely have a miraculous effect. Sure enough, after more than 10 minutes of infusion, Wei Dongdong's heartbeat became a lot stronger. The small hole visible to the naked eye was also squirming and slowly becoming smaller. An entire hour passed. Tang Xiu stopped injecting his star force. He grabbed Wei Dongdong's ankles and lifted him up. His palms kept patting the muscles and bones of his entire body. His face was slapped dozens of times before he finally slapped the back of his heart a few times. Yang sucked in a breath of cold air, and his eyes were filled with fear. Chu Guoxiong was even more dumbfounded, and the corners of his mouth twitched a few times. One had to know. Wei Dongdong suffered from congenital heart disease, and the small hole in his heart was very prone to bleeding. Once there was a problem with his heart, it would be fatal. Yet Tang Xiu actually slapped his back. How could this be treating a patient and saving someone? This was clearly murder. However, they thought of Tan Xiu's previous instructions that they must not disturb him. Therefore, despite their uneasiness, they held on to their trust and finally endured it. Tan Xiu slapped Wei Dongdong's back and put him down again. He performed acupuncture again with the same silver needle. However, the next infusion of star force was very short, and the amount was also very small. After wrapping his heart with star force, he immediately stopped. It was impossible to treat such a congenital heart disease in one go. However, he only needed to treat it once and the star force left in his body would nourish and repair it. When the star force was consumed, Wei Dongdong's congenital heart disease problem would probably be completely solved. It's done. Tan Xiu pulled out the silver needle with a smile on his face. Divine Dr. Tang, it's done? Asked Li Yunyang incredulously. That's right. It's done. Tan Xiu nodded and smilingly said. However, you need to wait for 2 months. Take him to the hospital for an examination 2 months later. You can call me if you have any other questions, or come to Shanghai University to find me. All right. Thank you, Divine Dr. Tang, said Li Yunyang quickly. No need to thank me. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said. You exchanged your son's life with your actions. However, I still have a request that I hope you can promise me. What is it? Asked Li Yunyang quickly. As long as I can do it, I'll do it even if I have to climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a pot of boiling oil. You don't need to exaggerate. My request is very simple. You must absolutely keep the fact that I cured your son's congenital heart disease a secret, said Tan Xiao with a smile. You can't take your son to the previous hospital for an examination, nor can you find the previous doctor. I don't want the fact that I can completely cure congenital heart disease to be spread out. Yang asked in confusion. Why? Isn't this a good thing? I'm afraid it'll be troublesome, said Tan Xiao. Afraid of troublesome? Li Yunyang stared blankly for a moment. Although he was full of puzzlement, he still nodded and gave Tan Xiao his assurance. Chu Guoxiong, who was standing at the side, suddenly said, Divine Dr. Tang, can I take this child's pulse? You don't trust me? Tan Xiao smiled. Chu Guoxiong stared blankly for a moment before he immediately said with an embarrassed smile, It's not that I don't trust you. I'm just shocked by your treatment method, so I want to diagnose this child's physical condition. Tan Xiao made a pleased gesture and then turned to Dai Xinyue and said, Pack up and get ready to get off work. Also, remember to discuss with your family when you go back, and wait for October 8th to arrive in Shanghai. I've already told my family, Master. My parents are very much in favor of me learning medicine from you, said Dai Xinyue with a smile. They even said that they want to invite you to dinner. Tan Xiao waved his hand and said, Forget about the dinner. I have a lot of things to do during the National Day holiday. Let's meet again when we have time later. All right. Dai Xinyue nodded with a smile. Chu Guoxiong grabbed Wei Dongdong's wrist and diagnosed his pulse. Then he turned to look at Li Yunyang with a strange expression and asked, You're Mr. Wei, right? Are you sure your son has congenital heart disease? Chapter 495. Although he didn't understand why Chu Guoxiong asked this question, he still answered honestly, Yes. I've been diagnosed since my son was born. If it weren't for us taking good care of him, and even spending a lot of money to hire professional nurses to take care of him, I'm afraid my son wouldn't have been able to live until now. Chu Guoxiong turned his head and looked at Tan Xiao with a forced smile. Divine Dr. Tang, this Chu Guoxiong is convinced. You're not a divine doctor at all. You're simply a god. I just diagnosed this child and found that his heart is beating vigorously. Although his qi and blood are a bit unstable, it doesn't look like a congenital heart disease. Your diagnosis is wrong. The reason why you diagnosed him as a congenital heart disease patient is because he used a special method to keep his heart in a high-speed recovery stage, said Tan Xiao. If you had diagnosed him a few hours later, I'm afraid you would have been able to diagnose his condition. What's going on? Asked Chu Guoxiong with a blank expression. Congenital heart disease is very easy for me to treat, said Tan Xiao. But if I want to cure it completely, I need to let the heart heal and grow. And this process will take about 2 months. That's why I told him to take the child to the hospital for an examination after 2 months. Chu Guoxiong suddenly understood, and gave a thumbs up to Tan Xiao, but he didn't know what kind of praises he should say. It was because he felt that any praise given to Tang Xiao would be weak and powerless. Upon hearing Tan Xiao's words, Chu Guoxiong's half-relieved heart immediately calmed down a lot. With an inquiring expression he asked, Divine Dr. Tang, do we still want to stay here? Do you have too much money to burn? Tan Xiao snappily said. Are you going to waste your money on this? I've treated him, so why are you still staying here? Go back to where you came from, and take good care of him. Your son will be healthy 2 months later. Even if your son is lucky, his physical fitness will definitely be far superior to ordinary people in the future. Far superior to ordinary people? Chu Guoxiong didn't have such extravagant expectations. He only hoped that his son could be healthy and he would be satisfied. They left the hospital. Tan Xiao sent Dai Xinyue home, and then returned to Southgate Town. To his surprise, his parents hadn't gone to bed yet. Instead, they were chatting with a guest. Elderly, why are you here? Tan Xiao asked curiously with a strange expression on his face. Just now, after he entered the courtyard of the villa, he found that there were more than 10 unidentified men around the villa. When he entered the courtyard, he found 4 burly men in black standing in the courtyard. However, he never expected that Hong Kong's Li Jiren would personally come to Star City, and even appear at his home this late. Li Jiren got up and said with a smile, "Tan Xiao, I originally came to visit you, but I didn't expect to meet your parents, so we chatted first and waited for you to come back. Why didn't you call me?" Tang Xiao touched his nose and smilingly said, "You have my cell number." Li Jiren said with a smile, "I know you're busy. Anyway, I have nothing to do these few days, so I came over to discuss some things with you." Tan Xiao nodded. Tang Yunda and Su Lingyun glanced at each other. Then, Tang Yunda said with a smile, "Elderly, you talk to Xiao. We're a bit tired, so we won't bother you anymore." Li Jiren nodded with a smile. Tang Yunda looked at Tan Xiao and said, "Xiao, entertain elderly well." "All right," Tan Xiao replied. As Tang Yunda and Su Lingyun went back to their room to rest, Tan Xiao took Li Jiren to the study room on the second floor. After brewing some fragrant tea, the duo sat on the sofa. "Elderly, I think you should have something important to discuss with me in Star City, right?" Tan Xiao took out a half-pack of cigarettes and handed one to Li Jiren. He lit one himself and took a puff before asking slowly. Li Jiren didn't light the cigarette. He held it in his hand for a moment and said, "Tan Xiao, the reason I came to you this time is because I want to ask you for a medicine." "Ask for medicine?" Tan Xiao stared blankly and then asked with a strange expression, "What medicine do you need?" Li Jiren slowly said, "When I was young, I was suffering from a chronic illness due to hard labor. It wasn't until I met Boss Gu that my body finally couldn't support the illness. Although my body recovered a lot after recuperation, it's still not as good as a healthy person. In the past, Boss Gu gave me a medicine called marrow cleansing pill. Ever since I took that medicine, the chronic illness that had accumulated for many years was completely cured. Even my body's constitution is much better than that of an ordinary person. However, I'm old now, so I was thinking that if I could get another marrow cleansing pill." Upon hearing Li Jiren's words, Tan Xiao immediately understood his thoughts. He nodded and said, "I can indeed refine the marrow cleansing pill, but I need to consume a lot of medicinal herbs. There's no lack of precious herbs." Upon hearing it, Li Jiren immediately guaranteed, "Tan Xiao, as long as the medicinal herbs can be bought with money, I can get them no matter how precious they are." Tan Xiao couldn't help laughing and said, "I forgot about your identity. I'm afraid you're so poor that you only have money now. All right, I'll give you a list of medicinal herbs. Send someone to buy the medicinal herbs you need according to the list. Once you've bought all of them, send them to me directly." Upon hearing it, Li Jiren was happy and excitedly said, "No problem. Tan Xiao, I owe you a favor. In the future, you don't need to say owe me a favor." Tan Xiao waved his hand and said, "I won't give you the marrow cleansing pill for free. I'll ask you to find more medicinal herbs, so it's mutually beneficial for us." Li Jiren stared blankly for a moment before he immediately nodded and smilingly said, "It doesn't matter if it's more. Even if it's 10 times or 100 times more, I'll find a way to get it. After all, the marrow cleansing pill can prolong my life, so I'm using money to buy my life. If it's the first time you take the marrow cleansing pill, it'll help your body the most," said Tan Xiao. "But if it's the second time, the effect won't be that great. All right, I'll check your pulse first." Through some understanding, Li Jiren already knew that Tan Xiao was the young divine doctor of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Therefore, he quickly got up and came to Tan Xiao's front. He sat next to him and stretched out his wrist. After checking his pulse, Tan Xiao said, "According to your current physical condition, you can live for at most 10 years. If you take the marrow cleansing pill again, it should help you live for another 3 to 7 years. However, your body will be much stronger than your peers during the time you're alive. You can judge how long I can live from my pulse?" asked Li Jiren with a blank expression. "Everyone calls me the young divine doctor," said Tan Xiao with a faint smile. Li Jiren pondered for a moment before he heavily nodded and said, "All right. Even if I can only live for another 3 to 7 years, it's worth it for me to spend a lot of money to buy those precious medicinal herbs. Tan Xiao, make a list of medicinal herbs. I'll go back and arrange people to search for them." A curved arc was outlined on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth. A smiling expression climbed up the corner of his eyes as he said, "No hurry. Drink some tea first. As a matter of fact, there are better medicines to prolong your life." Li Jiren suddenly stood up. His speed was not something that an old man should be able to achieve. His eyes stared fixedly at Tan Xiu. His breathing became a lot faster at this moment as he quickly asked, "Tan Xiu, do you mean there are better medicines than the marrow cleansing pill?" "Yes. At least it can let you live for more than 10 years, said Tan Xiu with certainty. "What medicine?" asked Li Jiren quickly. "Life essence pill," said Tan Xiu. "I need this life essence pill. What medicinal herbs do I need? As long as I can do it, I'll do my best to find it even if I have to pay a huge price." Tan Xiu stretched out a finger and lightly said, 10 billion, plus 3 precious medicinal herbs. If you agree, I can give you the life essence pill in 3 days at most after you give me the money and medicinal herbs. "Money is a small issue," said Li Jiren without hesitation. "Which 3 medicinal herbs do you need?" "Millennium Snow Lotus, 500-year-old Polygonum multiflorum, and 500-year-old Flying Guillotine," said Tan Xiu. "I know about the Millennium Snow Lotus and Polygonum multiflorum, but what is this Flying Guillotine? How come I've never heard of it?" The flying guillotine grows in an extremely cold place. It's shaped like a hawthorn and has vine leaves as its companion, said Tan Xiu. "The most important thing is that the place where it grows used to be filled with mountains of corpses, which were born from the blood-soaked soil. I'll draw the flying guillotine's appearance later. No matter how difficult it is for me, I'll find a way to get the 3 medicinal herbs you need." Li Jiren heavily nodded. "I'll give you 2 months. Tan Xiu said with a smile. "If you can't get it within 2 months, then I can only settle for the second best and give you the marrow cleansing pill." "All right." Li Jiren rubbed his hands, and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. With his current status, as well as the traces left on his body by the years, money simply had no meaning for him. What he cared about was how long he had left for the rest of his life, and whether he was healthy or not. Half an hour later, Li Jiren left Southgate Town. A few minutes after he left, Tang Yunda came to Tan Xiu's room and curiously asked, "Xiu, why did Li Jiren look for you?" "He's looking for medicine that can prolong his life," said Tan Xiu with a faint smile. "Is Li Jiren sick?" asked Tang Yunda with a confused expression. "He's not sick. He just wants to live longer." Tan Xiu shook his head. "It seems that no matter how much power and wealth you have, you still can't avoid the fear of death." Tang Yunda forced a smile. "How was your talk? Do you have a way?" "I do have a way, but the conditions are very harsh," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "If he can find the medicinal herbs I need, I can help him live for a few more years. But if he can't, I'm powerless." Tang Yunda gave a thumbs up and praised, "You're worthy to be my son. Even the famous Li Jiren is begging you. Son, this Li Jiren is as rich as a country. You must take advantage of this time to make him bleed." Today's monthly votes have increased by 1 rank. Continue with the 3 chapters update. This chapter is a free chapter. Asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes _. Chapter 496. Star City, Rising Dragon Martial School. A searchlight brightly illuminated the martial arts field. In the middle of 2 rows of weapon racks in the spacious field, Jiang Feng wore a tranquil smile on his face as he looked at Chen Jizhong, who was dressed in a training suit and looked solemn. With a clear and loud voice he said, "Brother Chen, although we are exchanging pointers, fists and feet have no eyes. If I inadvertently hurt you during the match, I hope you can forgive me." Chen Jizhong nodded seriously and said, "I also want to say the same to you, Brother Jiang. I hope you can go all out in the match, because I don't want to have an unfair victory." "Ha ha ha." Jiang Feng laughed aloud as a contemptuous expression flashed in his eyes. At the side, the 2 disciples of Jiang Feng shook their heads and laughed. They looked at Chen Jizhong with eyes full of contempt. It was because they had seen Chen Jizhong fight. Although it was a few years ago, they thought that they were not much worse than him at that time. How many years had it been? Yet he had the guts to come to the Rising Dragon Martial School and compete with his master, a martial arts grandmaster. He even boasted shamelessly and asked his master to go all out. Did he come here to be abused? Chen Zhizhong cupped his fists and said, Brother Jiang, it's easy to capsize a boat if you lower your guard. Especially in a fight between experts, a slight mistake will lead to a crushing defeat. As a martial arts grandmaster, you should understand this truth. So, I hope you can put away all the contempt you have for me and show your true ability to compete with me. Jiang Feng slightly frowned as he carefully observed Chen Zhizhong. The smile on his face completely disappeared and was replaced with a bit of seriousness. He solemnly nodded and said, Since Brother Chen has spoken to this point, then I'm not worthy to be your opponent if I don't go all out. Come on. Let me see how many skills Brother Chen has learned from Tang Xiu and Grandmaster Tang in recent years. Please. Chen Zhizhong spread out his hands and said. Although Jiang Feng was old, his body was still strong and healthy. Coupled with the fact that he had immersed himself in martial arts for most of his life, it could be said that his whole body was full of kung fu. His feet that seemed to be rooted to the ground moved in an instant as he rushed toward Chen Zhizhong with a strange pace. Baji! He moved his feet and clenched his fist. In his early years, Jiang Feng had once been a disciple of a Bajiquan master. These years he had practiced the Bajiquan to the point of perfection. Therefore, when he made a move, his fists were incomparably ferocious. Chen Zhizhong quietly watched Jiang Feng's movements. Just as Jiang Feng's fist was about to hit his face, Chen Zhizhong's feet twisted in a strange trajectory, and his body spun like a bow. He easily dodged Jiang Feng's fist that he thought would definitely hit, and his palm slapped Jiang Feng's left arm. As the saying goes, using little effort to overcome 1,000 caddies, one powerful man can defeat 10 skilled men. Chen Zhizhong's seemingly light palm actually contained a terrifying power. After hitting Jiang Feng's left arm, Jiang Feng staggered 5 or 6 steps to the right before he steadied himself with a look of disbelief. You! Jiang Feng moved his lips, but he couldn't say the words that were stuck in his throat. Chen Zhizhong shook his head and said, Brother Jiang, in the eyes of ordinary people, your movements are big and fierce, and your speed is so fast that their eyes can't follow it. But in my eyes your speed is too slow, your moves have too many flaws, and your strength is also a bit lacking. If I want to, you'll definitely lose in 3 moves at most. An angry and ashamed look flashed in Jiang Feng's eyes as he said in a deep voice, Brother Chen, I might agree with this if it was your master who said it. But I don't believe it when it comes from your mouth. Show me if you have the ability. I want to see how you'll defeat me in 3 moves. Chen Zhizhong's brows furrowed and he instantly dashed toward Jiang Feng. His speed was extremely fast, and the distance of 5 or 6 meters was crossed in an instant. After Jiang Feng dodged his punches, Chen Zhizhong suddenly bent down. The moment his left hand pressed against the ground, he kicked out with both feet. Spiral strangulation kick. In an instant he kicked out more than 10 times. After the last kick, Chen Zhizhong's toes touched the ground, but his body spun in a 180-degree angle. In an instant, he appeared behind Jiang Feng, and his hand was already on the left side of Jiang Feng's neck. You lost. The tranquil voice made Jiang Feng's heart fall into an ice cave. I lost. I lost just like that? Jiang Feng's robust body stiffened. He wanted to turn his head to look at Chen Zhizhong, but he couldn't budge at all under the iron clamp-like grip. You. How did you do it? Chen Zhizhong released Jiang Feng and saw that he finally turned his head. Then he lightly smiled and said, I told you that my cultivation has been advancing by leaps and bounds ever since I became your disciple, let alone a martial arts grandmaster. Even experts who have surpassed the grandmaster realm will find it very difficult to defeat me. In fact, it's not impossible for a real expert to leap onto roofs and vault over walls, as well as picking leaves to injure people. My master can do it easily. Jiang Feng's lips squirmed, and an indescribably complicated expression appeared on his face. He lost. Recalling his contemptuous attitude toward Chen Zhizhong just now, bitterness surged in his heart. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect that not only did he lose, but he also lost so quickly and miserably. Just now, when Chen Zhizhong said 3 moves, he had already felt that Chen Zhizhong had left him some face. Otherwise, not to mention 3 moves, Chen Zhizhong could probably heavily injure him with just 1 move. The difference in speed, strength, and moves was really too big. At the side, Jiang Feng's 2 disciples were already dumbfounded with disbelief written all over their faces. Never in their wildest dreams did they expect that Chen Zhizhong, who was not much stronger than them, could actually defeat their master who was a martial arts grandmaster. Moreover, the speed of his defeat was so fast. Junior brother? I'm not dreaming, am I? You're not dreaming, senior brother, because we can't have the same dream at the same time. Master, he really lost. He lost to Chen Zhizhong. How is this possible? Master is a martial arts grandmaster. Chen Zhizhong, senior brother. Chen Zhizhong has become very strong, so strong that it makes my heart tremble. His speed is too fast. When he fought with Master just now, I couldn't see his movements at all, and then Master was defeated. Chen Zhizhong walked to the weapon rack at the side and reached out to pick up his coat. He then looked at the dumbfounded Jiang Feng and said with a smile, Brother Jiang, our match is over, so I won't bother you anymore. Brother Jiang, come to my place and we'll have a few cups of wine together. Jiang Feng finally sobered up from his daze. He dashed to the front of Chen Zhizhong and hurriedly said, Brother Chen, please hold on. You. The reason why your strength increased so fast, was it really from Tang? Grandmaster Tang? You're not deceiving me, are you? Brother Jiang, do you think I need to deceive you? Chen Zhizhong said. Jiang Feng was silent for a moment before he slowly said, I wonder if Brother Chen can help introduce me to Tan Xiao as my master. Chen Zhizhong couldn't help laughing and said, Brother Jiang, to be honest, I do want to be your senior brother. But my master is a man with his own ideas. If he wants to accept you as his disciple, he will naturally agree. But if he doesn't want to, there's nothing I can do. Jiang Feng was silent for a moment before he said, I'll visit Grandmaster Tang tomorrow. Chen Zhizhong waved his hand and said, I advise you not to go tomorrow. My master has been giving medical services in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital for the past few days, so he has no time to see you. However, you can try going to Southgate Town the day after tomorrow, but I can't guarantee that he will accept you as his disciple. Jiang Feng heavily nodded and said, I'll know after I try. The next day, as usual, Tan Xiao arrived at Star City Chinese Medical Hospital at around 6 p.m. To his surprise, Chu Guoxiong and the old Chinese doctor surnamed who had also arrived. After exchanging some greetings, the trio immediately began to treat the patients. It wasn't until noon that the 3 of them took a break during lunch. However, during lunch, Tan Xiao received a text message from Kawako Yamamoto, stating the time of arrival in Star City as well as a list of more than a dozen people. 9 p.m. Tan Xiao left Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Although Li Hongji hoped that Tan Xiao could give medical services in the hospital for one more day, Tan Xiao directly refused. Although there were still a lot of patients coming from all over the country, it was impossible for him to stay in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital for a long time. Therefore, the task of receiving and treating patients was completely handed over to Chu Guoxiong and the old Chinese doctor surnamed Hu. Late at night, 2 p.m., Tan Xiao and Tai Zhongkue quietly appeared in a small alley in a residential area in the southern suburbs of Star City. Their figures were like ghosts in the night as they silently rushed toward a dilapidated courtyard. Soon after, when the 2 of them quietly appeared in a dark corner outside the courtyard wall, they immediately hid inside. Tan Xiao took out his mobile and sent a text message. It didn't take long for Kawako, who was dressed in a night suit, to approach silently. Pa, a small stone was shot out from Tan Xiao's finger. Kawako's complexion slightly changed. After identifying the direction, she quickly came to Tan Xiao's front. Boss. Looking at the respectful expression on Kawako's face, Tan Xiao lightly smiled and said, Tai Zhongkue, I don't need to introduce you again, right? You've fought before. Kawako glanced at Tai Zhongkue and nodded. We've fought before. His strength is good, but there's still a gap between him and me. Tai Zhongkue coldly snorted. That was before. I can definitely beat you if we fight now. said Taizhong Kue. Kawako sneered and looked at Tan Xiao, saying, "Boss, this is the information on those people. They're the men my family sent to me. Although they respect me on the surface, they're not my men. They're likely to be my competitors in the future. Their photos are in the information. You just came to Star City, so it's not the right time to act now." Tan Xiao nodded. "Tomorrow night, you'll immediately take your men to carry out the task I told you before. Some people will fight you when the time comes." "I'll follow your arrangement, boss," said Kawako respectfully. "Also, you told me to find a lot of medicinal herbs and ores, and I've found them. They're in this courtyard. Do you want to take them away now? Or after the matter is over tomorrow?" That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.